Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Here we are, rolling out February like a steamroller, flattening it out, make sure there's nothing left behind us, because salty earth, why not, Alex Navarro?
Welcome to Flat Ass February.
I'm a flat asser.
Yep, that's me. That's my new political stance. I'm all flat asses all the time. I'm all about them long backs, you know what I'm saying?
Look at that. Just look at that. Look at the horizon on that ass. How could you say that her ass is curved?
It is straight like a horizon line. That is what I am looking for. No more BBLs. It is
the ancient Greeks had this. The ancient Greeks had this figured out. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That boat disappears over that ass. Mm-hmm. How could it be anything but? Brad Shoemaker, hello.
Hi. Greetings.
Greetings.
I already burned my flat ass material, so what else do you have?
You know, in absurd times, really, you either become absurd or you go absurd, right? Like,
look, you either flatten the ass or the ass flattens you.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's just bananas. Man, speaking of bananas, I'll say here out of the gate, I'm so annoyed with everything, but I'm so annoyed with,
Go on.
I've been having this week, and you're going to probably see things out of order if you're keeping up, but the last thing we did, the Rage and Bloom stream, the Lost Tapes, I've complained about it so much, but I will apologize. Whatever capture stuff is happening and frame dropping and whatever's happening on my computers, it's driving me up a wall. I don't know what's going on with the way Windows is treating my monitors, but they are treating them poorly. And maybe I just got to go back to my old AOC monitor. I got to get rid of this gigabyte. It's been having problems. My monitors go, Brad, maybe you know, my monitors go to sleep now. Okay. Or my computer goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Are they DisplayPort connected?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they pushes all the windows onto one other monitor. Is that a symptom of something happening?
That is a super long time Windows problem. They said they fixed that though. Like that was the case for years and years. And like 2-3 years ago, they claimed to have fixed that.
Okay.
But you might have to turn it on.
So what I'm hearing is they lied.
I find a lot of things that they say they fix in Windows turn out to occasionally not actually be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't believe their lies.
That I used to have that too, and it drove me insane.
And like that's a very minimal thing. I'm looking to see if that's a symptom of something else happening.
Right.
In my case, it wasn't just that it moved all the windows around when they went to sleep. It would also shrink them all down to very small sizes because it thought the resolution of the desktop was tiny when the monitors were asleep.
Oh, no. That's not... Mine are just getting pushed onto one monitor no matter what. And now if I'm like playing a video, and maybe we'll crowdsource this. If I'm playing a video on my main monitor and then I move a Chrome tab or a browser tab that's playing a video into the other window, that video's frame rate drops down.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so when I'm sending my capture from OBS to vMix, if the OBS is, I think, in that monitor, that I think it's also getting weird. I don't know. It's like one of those things that's happens and then it's really hard to track down.
Have you heard the good word about Windows 10?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Maybe now is the time.
Put it back on. It'll be the best 8 months of your life. I'm
a big Windows 8 guy. I stick with Metro. It's the best Windows they've ever done. It unifies with my phone. And
big fan of that full screen start menu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Windows Phone was all right, man. As a lapsed Windows Phone user, Windows Phone was not bad.
I never used one, but I actually heard mostly like pretty benign things about it. Like it was a completely acceptable way to have a phone.
Like the on a phone is the one place that Metro interface made sense. You know, you could customize the size of those tiles and they were live, so you could make them display things, and it was cool.
And on an Xbox-ish.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Here's a question I have.
What's the question you have?
So you keep mentioning this whole they're going to eventually end support for Windows 10, which I've known about for a while there.
In
I don't think I'm making it up, but
currently scheduled for October.
Okay. So when that happens, that's just there's no more updates coming for it, right? That's it.
You could use it for as long as you want, as long as you're fine not getting security updates anymore.
I mean, there will probably come a point where I'm not okay with that anymore, but I feel like I could ride that wave for at least a little while.
Yeah, the scary thing is like, you know, somebody will figure out some weird exploit in Windows 10 and then like they do for every operating system, and then it won't get patched out. But who knows? Microsoft may put out a security patch if that comes out, because they've done that before for
totally
out of date things.
It's just not ongoing support, really.
They pushed the end of life date for 7 out quite a bit, if I remember, and I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they also extend 10.
Do you know why they did that? It's because
I think it was just
7, 8, 9.
Yep, that's right.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me where Windows 9 is. Alex, show me Windows 9.
Fuck.
Show me where it was.
I just realized how well we set you up for that.
There is no Windows 9.
Do you believe the apocrypha about why there was no Windows 9?
7, 8, 9.
There are too many references to Windows 95 and 98 still in code, and they just didn't want to risk.
I believed it.
They didn't want to risk having a Windows 9 string in there that could confuse the issue.
Yeah, I would totally believe that. That feels like exactly the kind of computer problem that they would actually guide corporate policy more than anything else.
It sounds like computers are functioning just about as well as everything else right now.
Yeah.
The computers, this is the amazing part about computers, and why we should all remember this about the AI apocalypse. For now, computers are about as dumb as humans are, because you just need to look at what's the next Linux problem we have? What's our next
it's
epoch?
There's a couple of the Unix epic is in 2038, I want to say.
And it's all because we're the laziest motherfuckers out there.
Isn't that the year the asteroid's supposed to hit us?
Don't worry, it's all happening.
Oh, wait, no, that's 2032, so maybe we won't even have to get to that Unix problem.
So
I'm trying to find the date now. Yeah, 2038 is when that apocalypse is coming.
Great.
And
don't worry, there won't be any computers by then.
Yeah.
I really feel like a lot of this is like mostly people being like, somebody's gonna, dude, by the time that happens, we won't be using this computer anymore, this operating system, or this whatever. And man,
these are bold statements.
Look, there's never been a better time to know COBOL, is all I'm saying.
That's for sure.
Actually, that's not true. There was probably a better time to know COBOL, because they're probably firing all the people from the government who know COBOL. So.
They are not consulting anybody who knows COBOL anymore.
Yeah, right.
They're just assuming they can figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Themselves.
So maybe there was a slightly better time to know COBOL. It's not right now.
No.
But
they'll probably fix that Unix problem, right?
They would have to, right?
I think so. I hope so. They fixed Y2K.
No, they didn't.
No, I did.
Alex did. Yes, thank you. Okay.
That was all my work, okay? At least for those specific servers in Eureka, California.
All right.
Here, okay.
On to the video games.
On to the video games, but just real quick.
Yeah.
Have you guys been on the asteroid tracking?
No.
What? Oh, no. the one that is like, what is that? That's 2032, right?
2032, yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. So the percentage has been ticking up over the last week. It went from a 2% chance to a 3.1% chance, which is, I believe, the highest they have ever recorded.
For any asteroid, you mean?
For any asteroid since we've been tracking them.
Okay.
And how deadly is this?
I've
Extinction
looked for that.
level?
No, definitely not. It's
it is city destroying level, but that is probably it.
I think that's the sense I got, that it could probably wipe a major city off the Earth, but that's probably the extent of it.
There was a sick ring cam or door cam video of like a meteorite. It's a meteorite once it enters the atmosphere.
Yes.
Just smashing into somebody's porch, just turning into dust. That was pretty cool, I thought. I always look.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just crack yourself up.
Okay,
I was gonna say, look. I hope it was a meteorite and not some fucking piece of a plane falling off, because
or a SpaceX fucking satellite,
totally, or something else falling out of the sky. Because at this point, really, throw a dart. I don't know.
Did you even know a plane could land upside down?
I played. Have you seen me play Flight Sim?
I don't know if I want to call that a landing.
Fair.
Look. Everybody has survived. I'm very happy about that. I mean, there are injuries, but everybody's expected to live. So, like, knock on wood. Thank whatever god you pray to. Like, that's amazing. But yes, fucking wild, man.
I'm not getting on a goddamn plane anytime soon.
Really great time to have occasional family obligations on the other side of the country.
Like,
can I interest you in a 7-day road trip?
Maybe can I do the Will Wright, like, make it in 3 thing?
Don't try that. That's
some like Gumball Rally, fucking take your mini thins all night kind of type driving shit. I don't know if that's a good idea.
I don't think that's a good idea.
As someone who has done that, don't do that.
Anyway,
Yeah, everything's going great. That's really the summation of all of this. And also, I welcome our new asteroid overlord whenever it gets here.
That's right. Visit me first.
I'm going to start worshiping that thing.
What year is that?
2032.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Fantastic. That's like next week. It's like not that far away.
No.
Avowed. That's my segue. Just say the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Avowed.
That game rules.
That game came out and then came out again, but just came out for the public recently.
There's a lot of that going on now where you get it and then you can also get it later for less money.
It was a premium launch. I don't know what we're calling those. It was a pay, I think it was $90 in this case rather than $100.
Let's just call it the expensive edition early access.
It was like out on Friday for expensive edition and then Tuesday for everybody else kind of thing.
There you go.
That Civ did the same thing.
And I think, doesn't that work with Game Pass? Like, can you buy the kind of deluxe upgrade on the Game Pass version and play it early that way too?
Yeah. So Avowed is that we played it on Friday. We kind of did a little like mucking around, tested the Avowed waters. Nothing too serious. Just got in there. Dipped a toe. Made a character.
Put a bunch of mushrooms on your face.
Yeah. Tried out the different magic in this hand, sword in this hand, that, the other thing. But Brad, how have you found your personal Avowed time?
I love it. I am way into it. Turns out you can't not have the mushrooms on your face or the fungus or the light. Like
you can
turn
lessen
the visual. Yeah,
you can definitely lessen the amount of mushroom on your face.
It's like a really interesting choice to like railroad you into that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like RPGs like this always typically would be like, hey, do you want to be a godlike? Then here you go. Do you want to be a lizard person? You know, what I mean? Like normally it's like, hey, here's one of many roles you could pick, but they just decided were like, nope, you are this very specific type of person touched by a specific god, and we're going to write the whole story around that. And like, I thought that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I don't mind it. What did you pick for your? Not the facial one, but the big headdress. What is your godlike headdress?
There's only 4, right?
Yeah.
Like the hair, the wooden hair type stuff. Like I've got the like just full on like wooden antlers sticking up.
Okay, I've got the tiara, like the core. It almost looks. I know it's supposed to be fungal, but it almost looks like a coral tiara. Did you guys hide that stuff? Nope. I normally I would, but I was like, you know what? This is too weird and central to this game. I need to bear witness to this.
I'm going to tell you right now, I went as hard with the mushrooms as I possibly could.
Did you just do the full facial covering?
I did the full facial covering. I went all the fucking way with it. I look like a clicker. I remade my character from scratch. I feel like, though, I went with the war hero background. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm loving it so far. I'm not that far into the game. I'm kind of past where we were when we played on the stream. But the war hero is a really salty, salty's maybe not the right word. It's very military, like
militarized.
All the war hero things are like, you know, I served in here. You know, order is the way to go. And I wasn't sure. I didn't quite know that was going to be the tone. The war, but that's how I'm playing now. You know?
Yeah, because there's a lot it doesn't let you change. Like you can't change the background or any of the appearance stuff at all. I picked Noble Scion.
Okay,
which is the fallen aristocrat, kind of disgraced aristocrat sort of thing. Because I thought it sounded like it would be fun dialogue wise, and it is. It's quite sarcastic and pulls rank on people, but also like goofs around a lot. That
is also the one I chose specifically for that reason.
Yeah, it's had some good replies so far.
Did it spec you more in magic, like intelligence?
I don't remember how the backgrounds tie into. Is it starting stats that are affected by that? I think
it seemed like to me having done it twice, they just kind of drop a point or two in a different spot. Like when I picked War Hero. I got like my might or whatever they call their strength was a little higher.
Yeah, I can't quite remember which stats were attached to. It might have been like dexterity and perception or something like that. But like there are so many ways to boost your stats once you get in the game that stuff is just kind of a springboard. Like you stop thinking about that. And also if I could step back to the 10,000 foot view of this game, it feels like every choice they made is just in the service of letting you have fun and do what you want. Like the respecs are super cheap. There's like 8 other quality of life things that I think are amazing that we can get into later.
Have you tried a respec yet? I don't know if it goes up.
That's my one question. It's really cheap. You just spend a little bit of money.
100 gold or something.
Yeah, you can respec your abilities and your stat points at any time. But yeah, if it gets more expensive after that, that's maybe a little more punitive, but not too bad.
Yeah, but let's stick at the bigger view here. It's an action-y, kind of fun action RPG.
Yeah.
With a real emphasis on the action, because the combat, I think, is far and away its best quality.
This sounds grandiose, but I mostly would make an absolute statement like this because there just aren't a lot of points of comparison. It might be the best fantasy hand-to-hand combat I've seen in first person. When again, I'm only comparing it to Elder Scrolls games.
No, okay.
It is way better than that.
Yes.
The combat feels better, it hits harder, it's got a lot more variety, a lot more tactile satisfaction to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to pinpoint exactly what it is about it. It's something that, to me, I mean, obviously it's doing something very different because it's first person and it's more magic based, but it reminds me a little bit of the Ghost of Tsushima thing, where the sword hits in that game had that real thunky kind of quality to it. There's that little animation pause when you kind of thrust into someone, and the way that feedback works really makes it feel like you're hitting some shit versus just kind of waving a weapon in the general direction of a bad guy.
Yeah, but also the character build and the handedness stuff are both so flexible.
Yeah.
And, literally they were just you know what, we're not going to put any limits on what you want to do, just go for it, because you can you've got, what is it? It's fighter. It's basically fighter, ranger, wizard are the three
more or less, yeah,
ability trees, and they're all unlocked from the beginning, and you can just buy skills from all of them whenever you feel like. You can equip anything in either hand at any time. So you can have a pistol and a magic wand if you want to dual wield that. You know, I mean, I don't know how you would do that because I have to block all the time because I think the game is not hard, but it's not forgiving. If I were not able to block well, I think I would not be doing well in this game. But you can mix and match any skills and any weapons you want and just kind of do whatever. It's really awesome.
So the dodge is pretty generous.
Yeah, fair.
So that you got a pretty good dodge. I fought on the stream. I fought that guy with the wand, and just kind of by keeping distance and dodging out of range. But when you get surrounded, it gets a little area control gets a little tougher.
Yeah.
Is there a thing on the tree for countering or perfect blocking?
There is an ability for parrying. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or for perfect. Those might be two different things, actually. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yes, you absolutely can spec into a parry, perfect block kind of thing.
So it's funny, they give you different weapons when you start, I think based on, I don't think it's random, but I'm assuming based on different classes. So far, I've made the one we did for the stream. I watched my daughter make a character, and then I made a character, and we've all gotten different weapons to start with. They gave me a spear on the stream. I got a sword to start with, and I forget what she got. She might have been a mace or something. But it's funny because they, the weapons have very different properties, a sword, spear, mace, and as the fighter tree really doesn't seem to want you to have a spear. That seems more of the dex tree or the ranger tree. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what I want to play with now, because they give you so many weapons up in the first hour. They're like, all right, try a sword, try a thing, try a wand, try a grimoire.
I've found 5 or 6 of each common weapon at this point.
Yeah. Are you just breaking them down?
No, I'm actually. This in fact is probably the quality of life thing. I don't even know if they don't call your attention to it at all. So I don't know if you've noticed it. You can just teleport any gear on your person back to camp at any time.
I did not do that yet. No.
Dude, every time you get encumbered in this game, you're like, oh, I'm just going to go in the menu and hit X on a few things, and now they're back in my stash, and now I'm not encumbered anymore.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's so fucking good.
I haven't really I've only done the camp once, and it was mostly to go talk to Garrus, and I will call him Garrus.
Yes, there are so many things I'm impressed with, design-wise in this game, and that one is just it might be the most low-hanging fruit you can have in this kind of party-based narrative RPG. Is just make your first comparison the voice actor who does Garrus for Mass Effect. And nobody's ever done it before. Why did nobody think to do this?
It totally worked, and I'm a sucker for it, because I was like, oh yeah, I guess I do get a little bit of Mass Effect vibes from this. We're just kind of going around. Hey, is it just because you're literally Garrus's voice, or is some of the design similar? I don't care. If it's giving me Mass Effect vibes, that's probably good.
I mean, what's the character? Oh, God, why am I blank? Kai is the guy's name. Right? I'm already blanking on his name because I just think of him as Garrus. But they even write him kind of a similar personality,
ex-military,
kind of.
Oh, they know what they're doing.
Salty, past.
They're not trying to be subtle about it at all.
Yeah, I like. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say on the weapons though. I like the way they're handling kind of loot, quote unquote, because it's not even really loot. the weapons are just the weapons, like every common sword or common pistol is the same.
Yeah.
Like it's all just about upgrading within tiers. And then you can, like if you upgrade a common 3 times, then you can upgrade it into, I think fine is the next quality.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. I think I've got some +3 common stuff at this point. And then they have like unique, like actual loot. Like instead of like auto-generating 8,000 axes with slightly different stats, it's like you've got your base weapons that are whatever, and then like named weapons that have specific like perks on them.
Yeah.
But those have actual names, and presumably there's just the one in the game that you'll find.
And I think you can mess around. This was just a tooltip, but it sounded like maybe you could even mess around with those to change the perks on them.
You somehow it sounds like you need like high level mats. And the other thing is you might have to break down some of your other uniques that you don't want as much to get the mats to do that. So it sounds like it might be pretty restrictive.
I haven't gotten there yet. I did. I don't know. Did you do the? And this is a plus for the game because I really liked it. That quest with the woman who has the lizard people in her house. It's very early on.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, if this is going to be the quality of the side quest, I'm like, I'm kind of into it.
I have not found that many side quests in that first zone yet, but all the ones I have found are similar to that. Like all the writing is good enough to make you want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Did you check back in with her?
I did. Yeah.
Like that was a whole. I don't want to spoil the outcome of the quest, but like the thing that's revealed about her and how that ties into like the lore of the world and the gods and stuff, I thought was a really interesting idea. But like she says she'll go follow up on that, and I went back later and she wasn't there. I don't know if you can get more story on that because I want to see what the resolution of that little quandary is.
I have not followed up. I
went back to her house after because she was like, because it was the video gamey thing of like she was like still standing there motionless after she said, "Oh yeah, I'll go back to my house and check on it." And then I talked to her again, and she's like, "I'll get going soon."
Oh, I see.
Because of course they're not going to animate her walking over to her house or whatever. But then I went back to the house later, and she was not there.
Maybe she's dead.
Maybe
no spoilers.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the kind of weirdness of that quest, especially early on. Like, just sure, yeah, okay. But yeah, I also did not find a bunch of other side quests. Some popped while I was roaming around. Kai was like, does that tutorial quest where he's like, let's go get some materials to upgrade. And so I don't know if more stuff will just pop off like that.
Yeah. There's a few tutorial quests. I found like 3 or 4 other like actual narrative side quests like that one so far. One of them like led into an actual dungeon that is the first like real dungeon I've seen.
Okay.
Which is cool. Like they're definitely out there.
And how do you feel about the combat this is almost Mass Effect like, or at least from what I remember, like popping off like Kai's abilities.
It's clutch. Like it really is coming in handy now. Like if you haven't really ranged too far from that starting city yet, you may not have seen this, but they are not afraid to throw enemies at you that you cannot handle.
Like solo.
Just because of weapon scaling and stuff like that. Like you do very little damage to them, they do tons of damage to you type stuff. Like, have you gotten the tutorial thing yet about enemies have the same quality tiers as weapons?
I don't know if I did get that.
Yeah, so like enemies can be common enemies or fine enemies the same way weapons can.
Oh, interesting.
And that's denoted on their like health bar. It's like how many skulls are next to their health bar and what the number is.
Interesting. Okay.
Tells you like if you see an enemy with like 3 skulls on it, you should go the other way. Like
I got a quest with 3 skulls on it. I did not do it yet.
I've got one of those. I haven't even found where that guy is yet. But the point is like
that's a cartographer one too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the point is you can get into fights in this that you'll be lucky to even run away from, let alone win.
Okay.
And like once I upgraded Kai's abilities and started putting those on the hot select, like the D-pad, it started making a difference, but I've still had 2 or 3 of those fights that it was just like, I cannot do this right now. Like, because they take him down every 10 seconds. So you have to go revive him. And then you just get worked. Like this game has a free revive in it, by the way.
Your second
wind. Like that's another one of those things. It just feels like every decision in this is around just making you have more fun with it.
Mm-hmm. It's on a pretty sick cooldown.
It is a long cooldown for sure, but you basically do have one get out of jail free thing, which is a nice thing to have again when there are these fights scattered around where like if you're not paying attention to the skulls on the health bars, you might just get into a fight and be like, oh shit, I am in real trouble here.
I am not ready for this.
I actually didn't keep track. Do you know if when you die the second time, does it reset does it like basically reload and you have your second wind all charged up again, or does it just respawn you?
Yeah. Okay. It seems like it probably has some kind of like soft autosave every time you go into a fight. Because every time I've died several times getting into fights like this, it seems like every time I've died, I started pretty much like right outside that fight area.
So it's a reload, not a respawn.
Yeah, it's a reload for sure.
Okay. I only died, and again, I haven't done too much in this one, but I've only died by backing away off a cliff.
Sure.
fell off a cliff and was like, oh, yep, no, that's instant death down there.
You'll start seeing it as you explore most of that first map. Like around the edges, past the city, there are absolutely pathways to new parts of the map. I was like, oh man, like more map. And then you're like, no, I cannot be here right now. This is not going to happen.
But yeah, first impressions, I really like it. It's one of those games I the more I go into it, the more I'm liking it.
Yeah, that's how I've been too. Like when I first got to that major city, like, I replayed the stuff I watched you do on the stream, and then I got there and talked to a bunch of people, and I was like, oh, this is fine. And then I started exploring more, and then doing some of the side quests, and then getting out into the wilderness and exploring more. And just the more I play, the more impressed I am with it. It's really the world design. Like the world just feels so authored, so like built by human beings, not like there's nothing in this game that feels like it was generated by algorithms, because like Bethesda games have been doing, the Radiant quests and Radiant AI, like their automatic stuff for years now. Like every single thing in this game feels like it was hand built by a person to be fun. And I've just been super impressed. Like, did you go to the lighthouse, for example?
No, not yet.
Have you seen the lighthouse in the city?
In the city?
It's off to the left. When you very first get off the dock, it's kind of off to your left, a ways away.
I don't think I did. No. I thought I explored it pretty well, though.
Go to the lighthouse, but also you'll see this everywhere once you get out in the wilderness. There's just stuff to find every 5 feet. Like, it's crazy. To the point that I almost wonder if it's too dense sometimes. Like, they do the thing that I don't remember seeing since BioShock. I'm sure some other game has done this, the little twinkly sound when there's something nearby to find.
Yeah.
Like you start hearing that every 5 feet, basically. Because like
I was thinking of you because it sounds like the lizards in Demon Souls.
Yes. It's kind of like that, except it's literally every treasure chest and like pickup in the game makes that sound. So like I fucking fall asleep hearing that now.
But also the map is pretty good about, just general pickups. Like, hey, enemies down over here, you forgot to loot them. There's a big X on the map, or there's some plants. I don't think it shows the chests, but I believe it shows the materials and loot if you missed it, because I've definitely killed an enemy and be like, oh, all right, I'll go get my 2 coins or whatever.
I really wish it would annotate the lockpick chests, because I found a bunch of those when I didn't have enough lockpicks.
And I can't mark it.
There's no source of lockpicks, and I don't see a way to mark those.
Okay.
I hope you can get more lockpicks.
I have not engaged in the lockpick minigame.
There isn't one. There is not one.
You just burn a pick?
Like I said, I think everything about this game is just like, hey, how can we increase the satisfaction of the player with our design decisions? Yeah,
you just burn it?
You just burn a lockpick and it just opens.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm curious to, if you keep playing it, I really want to hear what you think when you've explored like a good chunk of this first zone, because like I'm just shocked at how much stuff there is to find. Like there's just little caves and like ledges and old temples, and like everywhere there's just stuff, like a lot of parkour too, a lot of climbing, like way more than you would think. Like it's just fun to climb up and like jump over stuff to find little trinkets and treasures and notes and stuff all over the place. Like it's just a really fun world to explore.
And if that comes, and I don't know if this is true, but if that does come at the cost of like a 40-hour instead of an 80-hour game, I'm okay with that. I know some people want their 80 hours, but like I would much rather have a very curated 40 hour. I'm not really trying to put a number on it, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Experience then, you'll be playing this game for 80 plus hours.
Yeah, I really do suspect that is the trade-off they have made. But it's hard to tell how big it is, because if you zoom out to the kind of like the Living Lands map, the world map, that Dawn Shore, that first zone is like that's like a 20th of the overall world map. Okay. So surely the whole thing is not populated with zones like border to border. I assume it's more dotted around that map, because I've spent so much time just in Dawn Shore that like it would be a 100-hour game if they've crammed that entire world map full. So I'm guessing it's a little more like, you skip across a third of the map to the next destination type stuff.
And maybe if this is successful, it's still in the PoE universe, right? Yeah. So like maybe they'll have stuff that opens up other regions. I don't know much about that universe. It's actually made me want to go play the Pillars of Eternity games. I played the first one somewhat and fell off of it, but I'm so curious because now I want to see if like the spells are, when we were doing the stream, people were like, yes, this is in that game. I'm like, oh man, okay, are these other parts in the game? But I wonder if that Living Lands area has been mapped in any of those games at all. Like maybe these are known places, or maybe this is a new thing. I really don't know enough about it.
I think wasn't PoE 2 subtitled Deadfire, I think, and they've talked about the Deadfire archipelago in this in some of the dialogue. I think that's right.
Is that where the paladin leader fought?
Maybe.
This is a really
Wudica.
So this is
I'm sorry, that's the goddess. I'm thinking of the.
She's
the Inquisitor. You mean?
Yeah.
I have not met her.
Steel Garrote is
the.
So the really interesting thing that I kind of like that they're doing in this is, and this is just an example because I really don't know how to explain it. When I was talking to someone very early on, when I first got off the boat, and I had the war hero thing that's like, oh, I know her. And the other person was like, well, how do you know her? And I had all these options to establish my relationship with her that were, I don't know how meaningful this is, but it was like, one of them was, I fought with her. She taught me, I fought with her. The other one was, she was my mentor. She taught me everything I know. One was, I had a relationship with her before she had her incident. And the other one was like, we had a relationship after we had our incident. And I really was wondering as I was looking through those, being like, if and when I meet this character, are these choices I'm going to make right now going to impact? If I say we had a relationship and then I meet this character later on and that's not brought up, that's going to be super weird, Yeah,
I don't know how meaningful some of those dialogue choices are. They are very resolute about making you stick with your dialogue choices, though. They're like, I don't think there is any concept in this game of sort of exploring every possible avenue through a conversation.
Yeah, they lock you out.
It's a lot of hey, you're going to make your one choice to this question and that's it, and you're committed to it. So I don't know how much that comes back around later. I do know that if you look at the godlike ability tree, which is where the stealth kill is, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's the 3 regular ability trees, but then the godlike ability tree,
Effect, yes,
it flat out says like, hey, the abilities you get off this tree will be dependent on the choices you make throughout the story.
So, yes, I saw that. Yeah.
So like it is going to have like pretty big gameplay ramifications at some point. Some of the choices you're making.
Yeah. So the dialogue options, I have found those to be really interesting. Not just because it feels like maybe I'm weaving the story subtly. I don't know if it's true or not. Like I haven't seen anything play out yet. But also, it's done the thing where like, oh my gosh, this dialogue tree is going to take me forever. There are 7 options here, and then you're like, no. You pick that, like you just said, you pick that one and we're moving on. Yep. We're never going to explore what any of those other 6 options were, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's bold because that's a lot of writing that you'll never see.
Yep. I really appreciate how just like direct and streamlined this game it feels.
Yeah. So I even tried to do some stuff since I played that intro part like a couple of times, like I said, once on the stream, then I played with my daughter. I tried to do that part with the woman who's locked in the prison a couple of different ways. And they wrote some stuff to make sure. So I tried, my last one I did on mine was, I'm not going to talk to her. I'm just going to open the door and let her out. I want to see what happens. And that little Garrick guy, as soon as you unlock the door, is like, whoa, you're just going to let this person out? You haven't even talked to them. We should talk to them first. And I was like, okay, all right. At least you wrote a thing.
Yeah.
So you
considered
were you able to leave her behind or no?
I opened the door and then I took her with me. I did the same thing where she came with me. I have not left her behind. My daughter did not leave her behind. So I assume you just get to the boats. That's the tutorial part.
Yeah.
I assume you just find the boat anyway. You're kind of railroaded.
Yeah. Those are just intro characters.
Oh, that little fuzzy man.
That
little fuzzy Garrett.
Yeah.
I just want to hit him.
Pleasantly surprised.
Monster.
Yeah, I am shocked how much I liked this. Like I thought I wanted to try it just because it was Obsidian and it's a big RPG, and I was like, yeah, sure, that's a notable release, but like I'm like kind of dying to get back to it actually.
Yeah,
it's really good so far.
Just put Garrus in more games.
Yep,
that's the secret sauce.
I'm curious if you're gonna have more than one companion at one time. I'm guessing no, just based on like the UI,
Like you're running out of D-pads.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. You do have the action radial. You know, you can pop up that menu with all your. I think there actually is room for another character on there, so maybe you can have 2.
That'd be. I would feel like 2 would be the way you go. That way they can talk to each other, and you can have your And maybe they just sit at camp. I don't know. I'm definitely not that far along yet. I'm pleasantly surprised. Good on them. I hope it maintains its charm.
Yeah, it's doing well. It's like number top selling game on Steam right now.
Great.
People are hungry for RPGs that won't take up half of their year.
And especially after the first Outer Worlds. Like I liked Outer Worlds okay, but like it was divisive. Let's say I guess I think this is Obsidian's first big first person game since then. Like it's pretty awesome to see it hitting as hard as it is.
And it should be understated. I do think the writing in this game so far has been pretty good. Like it's not trying to be overly snarky. It's not treating everything frivolously. I don't know how to describe it. It seems appropriate for the setting. Yeah,
but you're right. It's not trying to be Joss Whedon, quippy Marvel shit. But it's also not like overly austere and like boring. It's not overly dry and stuffy either. Like it's walking a really good line.
Yeah, it does remind me, and I hate to keep making this in comparison. Well, actually, I love to keep making this comparison. Mm-hmm. It does remind me of like Mass Effect. Yes. Like it seems just appropriate for what's happening.
I think the more you say that, the more I think about like I think it does feel more like a first person fantasy Mass Effect than it does a like Skyrim like.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
You can turn third person on if you want.
Yeah, you can.
Did you try? I did not.
I did for a little bit. I don't like fighting that way, but sometimes when you're just wandering around in the world, it can be kind of fun to see your giant mushroom-headed person just running around.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But actually, the first-person combat is good enough that I actually wouldn't want to give that up.
My one minor beef.
We got a beef.
I have. I played it on the PC. I played it on the Xbox. I think I prefer on the PC. Switching between performance and quality requires a reboot of the engine on the Xbox, which is like it's kind of a bummer. But there is a significant frame rate difference between performance and quality, which I think I'm just going to wind up playing more on the PC than on the Xbox.
Yeah, that makes sense.
From the Microsoft Store.
I've played entirely on the Xbox so far. It's got a really good 40 hertz mode in there, which. Like it takes a little getting used to, but once you get used to it, it feels very good.
Nice. Is that like a compromise between the quality and the performance?
I mean, it varies from game to game. Like a lot of time you'll see like, it's all the effects of the quality mode, but at a slightly lower resolution or something like that.
Okay. It was like a little bit tough on the just pure quality, and performance was pretty buttery, smooth on frame rate. Which made me just want to go back to the PC and be like, I think I can get both of these out with my 4080.
Oh yeah.
But
I think we're like deep enough into this console generation that like any console port is probably going to do extremely well on modern PC hardware now.
Right, unless they're adding some other feature in. Right? That's just like Tress effects, and now you broke it. Avowed, pleasantly surprised. $70.
Very much so. If
you want to get out there. I'll end with this question to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Avowed, PS5?
I mean, is it coming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would say absolutely, especially after
at some point, yes.
Now that it's doing this well, absolutely, they would want to sell it to. And the PS5 just hit like 75 million sold, I think. I saw.
I don't know.
So like it was one of those. I don't remember if it was 70 or 75, but it was definitely a high number.
That's a good size audience to sell your now like highly acclaimed sprawling RPG to.
I don't know what the PS5 numbers are. I do know that they are more than the Xbox numbers.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
So you would say almost sure thing this is going to come to a PS5 at some point.
Yeah, I don't know about what the window is going to start looking like for this stuff. Like maybe later this year, but maybe next year. I don't know.
Okay. By the time the first expansion comes out on the Xbox, you'll they'll probably put a complete edition over on the PS5.
Possibly, yeah.
I was a little bit. The reason I thought of it too almost immediately as I was doing quality and performance was like, man, I kind of just want a PS5 Pro version of this.
Yes. I hate that I am thinking. I hate that I am now in the mindset that the launch Series X and PS5 are like old and crappy. I mean, they're not crappy. Let's be real. Like I'm playing this game on the Xbox and it's just fine. Yeah. But now now knowing there is a better console out there.
And it's called the PC.
Yeah, I mean, that's, many people are screaming at their radios right now going, just play this on the PC. Which I did, actually. I did fire up the Steam version of this just to test it out.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Xbox games have done this, but you can sign into your Xbox account in the Steam version and get your cloud saves from the Xbox version into Steam.
Yeah, that's neat.
I'm pretty sure some of the Microsoft games on Steam have not been able to access the Xbox services, but I'm not sure.
I don't think there's ever been a case where I bought a thing on Steam if I had the console version, because most of that first party stuff has just been on the Microsoft store.
Right.
But yeah, that's cool.
What if you didn't have to download games from the Microsoft store?
Look, if they let me just use the Steam app, it's actually their Xbox stuff.
It's better.
At least in Windows 11 is fine. One of the things about Windows 11 that I could say is like it's integrated just fine. And I will also say, going back and forth, I've only done it 2 times, but it was pretty seamless. Picked up my saves. Everything was in sync. Can only start, it seems like, 1 character at a time per profile. Just a heads up.
Really?
Huh. I don't know if my old saves are there somewhere, but when you're like create a new game, it wasn't like put it in a new slot.
That's just kind of unfortunate.
That's what it seemed to be. Again, I have yet to hit load game. I just hit continue. So maybe there's an old save kicking around in there somewhere, but that's what it seemed to be. Avowed, out now, $70 on the Xbox or on Game Pass. Go check it out. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We have some other games we're going to talk about, but they will be after this.
This week's show is brought to you by Factor. Vinny and Alex, do you like to eat?
God, yes.
It's like my favorite thing. It's like, don't let my family hear, but it might be like my favorite thing.
Do you like to not have to do things for yourself?
That might be the only thing I like more than food.
I'd say I roughly have between 1 and 2 minutes to do a thing for myself. If I get outside of there, then we might be in trouble.
What if there were a company that could synthesize your love of eating with your love of not having to do things for yourself and send you meals in the mail?
That sounds impossible.
I would not only survive, I would thrive.
Well, I am here to tell you, not only is that not impossible, it is reality. And Factor is making it a reality. Factor is a meals in the mail service that will send you fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle meals, says this bullet point, right to your door.
I can also attest it may be perfect for not so busy lifestyles. I've gotten some Factor before. It's pretty good, pretty delicious.
Yes, dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, they say, although could I maybe recommend 3 minutes?
Or
sure.
you could just put it in your conventional carbon-based oven or electric, whatever you use to heat something up. Be it radio waves or other means. It still works.
And even if that's too much, maybe the whole chewing thing is too much work for you. They got smoothies too. You can just get your food liquefied and drink it.
That's right. This says right here 40 options across 8 dietary preferences, such as Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Add-ons like wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more. They just bring a giant box full of food to your door. They just do that.
And it works.
Yeah, and then you could decide when you want to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
They might have a, hey, space these out, but like I said, it's pretty good food. So that quick, that easy.
You're going to want to eat them.
You're going to take your chances, right?
How do you get in on this action? I'm glad you asked. You can get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. And use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thanks, Factor.
All right, we are back, and it is time to talk about... Well, it's time to talk about Lost Records Bloom.
And Rage.
Well,
we haven't gotten to the Rage part yet.
Mostly Bloom. So this is a two-parter, and I'm not knocking it, but Rage is not there yet. We just got the Bloom part. Rage is coming in April 15th as a free download if you buy it. So it's $40. Yeah, I don't think I realized this too until it was pointed out to me and we were playing it.
Well, don't forget, Original Life is Strange was episodic too, but it was like a 5-part thing. This is just a 2-part thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, so these are just episodes then.
Yeah, it's like the second half of the game. They just say like, "Hey, look, if you buy it, it's $40. You'll get it. It's just not in there right now."
It's like a mid-season hiatus more than anything else.
So the game is split into two parts, Bloom and Rage, and right now we have the Bloom. This is Don't Nod's game. Don't Nod of Life is Strange 1 and Life is Strange 2 and Captain Spirit, I believe.
Yes. And also Remember Me.
I was also just about to say that. I don't know why Remember Me is the thing I always know Don't Nod for.
Well, it was kind of their first big game.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's why.
Yeah.
But not of just to be clear, not of Life is Strange Double Exposure, Life is Strange True Colors.
That was Deck 9.
Not Life is Strange Before the Storm. That's all Deck 9.
Yeah, and also they don't have the rights, I think, to Life is Strange anymore. I think that is still with Square Enix.
Probably good publishing, yeah, probably.
So
that makes sense because they are listed as the publisher for Lost Records. So I guess they basically were just like, hey, we should keep doing that with something we own.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the kind of background here because this is very adjacent to a Life is Strange. This is a Choices Matter.
It's not
game.
A 1-to-1 analog, but it is like a 1 to 1.5 analog is how I would describe it.
Sure. And I think you could probably pull in whatever teen romp du jour you want. Like mine would probably be like, I kept saying Stranger Things. Alex, I think you said some people were saying Yellow Jackets, right? Like,
yeah, I mean the setup, which to be fair, they don't lay out everything that's going on in those opening hours, though you get a real strong hint that something bad happened to these girls at some point in their past, and your main character is going back home to your hometown in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to meet up with one of those friends. And it seems like maybe some of the other friends might be coming along at some point. But it sounds like there was a big, traumatic, bad event.
Something.
Possibly supernatural in origin, maybe not. The game hasn't really alluded to too much with that stuff yet. But the idea being that like it is sort of a flashback and a flash forward repeated back and forth of like the current day events and then the events leading up to whatever the event was.
Yeah, so from what we've played, it has the more intricate scenes have definitely been the flashback scenes.
Definitely.
Where you play as Swan?
Swan is the name of your girl, yeah.
Swan, and she is kind of an awkward teen. She is in the process of moving out, but she meets these other three girls in this kind of shitty event that happens.
It's not a meet cute exactly, but it is definitely like an inciting event that sort of like they form a little bit of a bond over it.
And so we've talked a lot about these kinds of games where they really hinge on how much tolerance you have for cringy dialogue versus letting teens be teens dialogue versus like it's supposed to be weird and awkward versus how much are they trying to be a hello fellow kids, like that kind of stuff. And I think for most part for me, Alex, I'd like to hear your opinion too. Is they're mostly keeping me on board.
Yeah,
with this.
I think occasionally it falls over into like maybe just like slightly over earnest territory, but it's not in a way that feels like obnoxious or inauthentic. So one of the co-writers on this game is Nina Freeman, and if there's anyone I trust to kind of handle like dialogue around, women who are sort of coming of age at a certain point in, let's just say, the mid-90s in this particular case, Nina is someone I would trust to have a handle on that stuff. And so for the most part, like I said, every once in a while it feels very painfully earnest and a little cringy, but not in a way that feels like teens would never talk like this.
Yeah, and it's a vibe that I feel like the three of us could call out pretty easily and be like, oh my gosh, this is definitely not how it was in the 90s when you were hanging out. But so far for the most part, that's not my beef with it. The references they make, the insertions of like, hey, I got to bring this Dark Crystal video back to the VHS place.
Yes.
It's like, sure, okay.
There is an extended bit about the band Bikini Kill.
Oh, okay. I was just about to ask which bands they invoke, but
pretty good mixtape that you find.
You find a dude's heavy metal mixtape that has like fucking Sepultura and Pantera on it, so that feels fairly authentic.
Okay, so like the kind of slightly scarier type of metalhead.
Yeah. It had the song from the first Korn album on there, if that tells you anything.
So those parts I'm finding okay. My threshold might be a little bit higher. Like these games definitely don't seem to piss me off like they do some other people who are just like, I can't with this.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's touchy-feely in places, but I think it feels so far pretty earned and earnest in those places, but not overly cloying.
No, definitely not. I don't think it, like I said, none of the dialogue reads as like wildly inauthentic to me. I think some people just have a very low tolerance for teens and their awkwardness and the way that they express things, and I get that. There are certain cases where I can't deal with it either. But even at its like worst, I feel like the Life is Strange stuff and by you know proxy, this kind of stuff has never really hit that way for me. There is not a lot of stuff in this kind of like don't nod / Deck 9 oeuvre where I feel like I just can't fucking stomach it.
It almost seems like the type of question. It almost seems like a question between are they doing this poorly or are they doing it too well? You know what I mean? It's like, because they're like, there's one type of embarrassment if they're like not pulling off what they're going for. There's a different type of embarrassment that is inherent to being a teenager.
Yes.
That you were experiencing secondhand, right?
Like the line in the first Life is Strange where she talks about her tasty plasma screen and her love of Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within is probably where that teeters over into, are you fucking kidding me territory? But most of the stuff between the characters where they're just, you know, like it's like relationship building stuff, I feel like is generally been pretty authentic.
Somebody with a plasma television sitting right behind me as we speak. They are pretty tasty.
Pretty tasty. I slid right off of Life is Strange 2. It did not gain traction with me.
Was that Don't Nod, or had they already handed it off by then?
That was Don't Nod. That's the one with the brothers. And that starts off in a pretty severe. That's a really dark
story. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm something about it was just like this is not working for me. This one though, I also kind of dig the older version of Swan, like the interaction Swan has with her mom, seems like okay, yeah. This
one of the best rendered, like sitting in a car having a conversation with your mom with the engine on and just looking around in the car, and just you very clearly have this rented mid-size sedan, and it is like a Forza level rendering of the inside of this rental car.
And is it Autumn? I think is the first person you meet in the bar that you sit and talk with.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
And like she seems like a well rendered older version of a woman who
and
like
different.
Yeah. So like that stuff, I'm all in on the mystery, whatever it is. Like I want to find out.
Yeah.
This has mostly been about establishing the relationships between you being kind of an. It seems like Swan is a bit of an awkward loner. With some maybe
anxious is how I would describe her.
Yeah, anxious, maybe very self-conscious. Maybe there's some bullying in the intro there. I don't know if Swan has had this before, but like finds camaraderie with these other three girls as they kind of have to. The setup is like you have to look for some keys that got lost, right? And it's good. I think
one of the more interesting things is that they really go out of their way to establish that these are like not the hot girls of the school. Like they are, you know, like Swan is like a little bit overweight. Like one of the girls you meet, Nora, has like I have to say this, like shockingly well rendered acne in a way that like
teen acne,
like
for
teen
sure,
acne.
yeah.
Like it looks like shockingly good and natural, despite the fact that the faces themselves sometimes do not look quite as natural as they should, especially when they animate.
All of our innovations in bump mapping have led up to this.
Yeah. But like these girls, you know, but at the same time, like they're not just bullied nerds, you know, like they have their own interests. Like it feels like they're all kind of distinct from one another. They do a pretty good job of establishing like why these girls might want to talk to one another, but also without just like laying it on too thick.
Yeah. So on the technical side, I think the game looks very good, but it animates a little hinky in some of the emoting.
The faces especially just do not move as much as maybe you would like.
But pretty good looking, and I like the art style. But yeah, some of the facial animations are stiff, I guess is the way I would say it. But yeah, so far I like it. We'll probably play more of it the next time we get together for another stream. Continue on the blooming, but then the rage part.
We'll see.
That's over, and that's in April. So not sure how long this game is. It's $40.
Like you know how adolescence is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First you bloom and then you rage.
And then you rage. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a bloom in a cage.
Nope. I deny you this one.
$40. We'll get you both parts. Just if that's not clear, I'll say it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like you buy each installment.
No.
It's just this has not come out yet. We played it on the PC, but it is available on the PS5 and the Xbox. And And again, $40. I'm a fan of it so far. I was don't nod curious about this one. I'm happy to report that I have enjoyed playing. I always like playing these games with other people as well. I think these types of games, I think, are for me more fun to share than to play in isolation. So
I think so too.
Why I fell off too.
It's fun to kind of bounce the references and the things that they are sort of like the nostalgia they're digging into off someone else versus just like sitting there pointing and going, "I know that band."
Yeah, yes, because we played one. We played True Colors.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the it's Deck Nines, but their the name just slipped out of my head. Their Return Back to Life is Strange, Double Exposure. I think they did fine with that. I never finished it, but not because I didn't want to. Just kind of like got sidestepped on some stuff. So yeah, we'll see how this all plays out. What else we got on here? So that's Lost Records. Keep driving.
Mm-hmm. This is something we checked out. I don't remember if it was the last Steam Next Fest or it was the one before that. Right. Either way, it was one of those games that was part of that. It is a road trip roguelike, is how I would describe it. You kind of set up with, at the beginning, you pick a car. There are a handful of cars you can choose from. At the outset, you can only choose one of them. And you set out on a road trip of somewhat indeterminate origin, like or like destination where you're planning on going, though you have a letter with you that kind of indicates, hey, there's like this festival show you might want to go to that's like kind of on the other side of the map. I've only done a couple of runs. I haven't really gotten too deep into it at this point, but I did manage to like bomb out on a couple of runs at least. And the idea is you are trying to get from point A to point wherever. And along the way, you are hitting towns, rest stops, whatever. You have to, buy gas. You have to buy food items for both energy and for hunger. You have to maintain your car over time. And along the way, you can take like gig jobs to earn money so that you don't run out of money and die.
I've been sitting here waiting to ask if this game is Oregon Trail, and it kind of sounds like it.
After a fashion. So while you're driving, the big thing is there are these events that will pop up as you go along. They range from, hey, you ran in, there's a tractor in front of you and that thing is slowing you down. And so, or versus like, hey, I just hit a straight up roadblock, or, there's a wide variety of random events, it seems like. And so you have these abilities you can use throughout the course of a day or the overall trip. Some of them you have to rest to reset them so you can use them again. But there's like these handful of little icons that sort of correspond to whatever challenge is in front of you right there. They pertain to your energy level, your gas level, your car's overall health, things like that. And the abilities that you earn and you unlock as you go through a run have little tags on them for those specific, like whatever challenge you're running into. Some of them are designed to take out two at once. Some are designed to take out one of any kind, but then that takes out an energy point from you when you use it. It's kind of a mixing and matching and just figuring out like what abilities should I be using right now? What am I wasting my energy on versus like what is more efficient? And again, those things reset and build up over time, but you after like on a single day when driving, you do run out of some of them. And
correct me if I'm wrong here, but I only remember this from the demo. Does picking up a passenger get you different abilities?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay, but not all the time.
I've only picked up one hitchhiker so far in either of my runs, and that one I don't remember exactly what. There was some kind of bonus to that, but I forget what it was.
Okay.
What is the setting for this? Because like the screenshots in parts look vaguely American, but other parts look vaguely European.
I would say it feels very Nordic.
Okay. But do they give a real world setting or even a fictional one?
They don't really indicate one. Like you can pick, either a man or a woman. You can name them whatever you want. I picked the sort of Hesher looking dude and named him Chunk. And the road signs, like the different towns and stuff, have a real like Sweden or Sweden adjacent kind of naming convention. I feel like.
Okay. All right.
Like my summer car.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, look, the driving in this is pretty minimal. Like when you set out on a road trip, or from one place to one place, you can accelerate or brake if you want to stop the car, or if you want to try and push your way past whatever the obstacle is in front of you. Like if you run out of abilities and you're just going to die, otherwise you can just step the foot on the gas. What you will do is you will incur a penalty of all the negative effects that you would have in front of you at once.
If anybody hasn't seen it and they don't feel like looking it up, it's got a very like VGA 2D.
It's side-scrolling almost exclusively. Yeah. Sometimes it's top-down when you're like in the car and trying to like play
inventory,
organizational Tetris. But other than that, it is side-scrolling.
Yeah, I looking at the screenshots, I assumed the driving was kind of a formality or handled entirely for you, but then I looked at actual footage just now, and like I didn't realize it looks like you are driving the car in a side-scrolling way.
I mean, so you can press the what is it, the A or the D keys to go backward or forward, but you don't, like when you're just on the highway and you're just kind of going from place to place, you don't actually have to do that.
Yeah, I guess what I meant is like I just assumed the driving from place to place would just be kind of represented by like a quick cutscene day by day, and like the gameplay was in the every time you stop, to take jobs and upgrade car and stuff. But I think it's kind of funny that they do make you handle the driving yourself.
Yeah, I have two complaints about this game.
One, hate it.
No, I don't hate it. I want to like it more, and I think part of the problem is I haven't it's trying to emulate the feeling of a road trip, but it doesn't really hit that for me. Like a road trip to me is a little bit more aimless. Like it is a little like I understand like the random event system and kind of like the roguelike structure of it. I think that's kind of a neat idea. But in the moment to moment, it just feels like when you're driving from place to place, all you're really doing is just bracing for whatever the next negative event is. There isn't that feeling of any kind of real freedom other than determining what the next city or a gas station or whatever it is you're headed toward is.
That cruise in the open road part.
Yeah, like it's part of what I like about the truck simulator games. Like I'm less interested in the delivery aspect than more just a sort of like aimless driving aspect of it.
Like the stretch of unburdened highway
totally
between
The other thing is I don't think the soundtrack's that great, and that's part of the problem. I think so. It seems like you can unlock more songs as you go along, but the actual in-game soundtrack is like fine, but not great. And it's not a thing where you can just go into a folder and change what songs are in there. It's like a DAT file that you would have to do a bunch of weird editing in if you wanted to change the music, and I don't have it in me to do that.
Sounds like somebody looked it up.
I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is it a licensed soundtrack? Is it like you are listening to the car radio kind of motif?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more like you have a CD player and you were popping CDs in, but it is that like it, it's a handful of licensed bands. I don't really know any of them, so it just like the music is like fine, but it just kind of feels like background noise, not a thing I'm like actively wanting to listen to as I go.
I love it. Not necessarily the game. I love that you are coming with this very particular perspective of like, look, you're somebody who likes driving. You're somebody who likes road trips. Here are the things you need to nail.
Yeah.
I need to bring my playlist, and I need to have this part where like you've accomplished a goal and now you just have driving ahead of you. Right now you're out of the city. You're past the weird part where there's detours, and now you just can listen to your music and just drive. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's not what they're going for. To be fair, like I'm not asking them to make a different game than what they made. Like I think there is an interesting hook to this one. I just haven't hit that point with like a good roguelike that I sometimes have where it's like I just wanted to go do another run. I just want to immediately hit back another run. I want to get in it. Like when I finished my first run, I was just kind of like, okay, I can come back to this. And then I did today just to kind of, refresh my memory on it. But then I bombed out of that run too, and I was like, okay, I'm probably good for a little bit here. Like it's not hitting that, it's not hooking me the way I want it to.
Let's keep driving. That's $18 over on the PC.
Check it out. I mean, it's a novel concept at the very least. See if it's maybe up your speed, but for me, it's a little less so.
Last but certainly not least here, a game that Brad, I feel like you and I have been talking about jumping into for a while, and I am glad we did. Void Crew,
dude. As much as I am enjoying Avowed, I kind of just want to play Void Crew.
So Void Crew is an up to 4 person. Yeah, I think max 4.
Yeah, up to 4. Yes.
Up to 4 person cooperative Sea of Thieves like is probably the touchstone we can probably make.
Speaking of roguelikes, speaking of games we have streamed and I dearly hope we will continue to stream.
Yeah.
Because it is a roguelike in a pretty explicit way.
Mm-hmm.
Is there stuff you bring back with you in terms of points and
just your character level? Just the you level up your character and have skill points to put into those 4 trees. For different classes.
I will not lose those.
No. Those are permanent. But like, I don't know if you saw this as much because I think you only see it when you go to the Galaxy map, and I was doing most of the piloting on our stream, but there is a literal roguelike style like track at the top with like 6 hops, for a run, and it's like 4 regular ones and then a boss fight and then a something else, like it very much looks like that kind of roguelike game.
It's look, I know some people get everything twisted up and very angry about anything because it's the internet, but is there a difference between in your mind, a roguelike and a run-based game?
I think they're the same concept. I think they're just different terms for the some people get a little prickly about the use of the rogue name for some reason.
Like, if you want to get technical, you could just say Keep Driving is a run-based game, but I do think it has a little bit of that element to it.
Yeah, I think the biggest objection I always see to that stuff is that people who are diehard about Rogue swear by the fact that you never take anything back.
Never take it back, right? Yeah.
Like, that was always the hang up. If you unlock anything that makes your subsequent runs easier, it's not Rogue. But that's why it's a roguelike. It doesn't have to be exactly like
no,
it
does not.
That's where the like you tell me if this is like slightly sneering or not. That's where the term roguelite came from, is people wanted a term that made it sound like roguelike but with progression.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lighter experience if you're gaining things that make the run easier, right?
Listen, call things whatever the hell you want to call them.
Yeah, like, who cares, man?
I believe words do matter, but I also believe in terms of we've gone over this and we lived this, and so I feel like we've come out the other side of it. Genres fucking don't matter in games anymore.
That I absolutely believe. Like, genres in video games and genres in metal no longer matter.
Ever since whichever BioWare doctor it was that said that RPG is like the gravy on every video game, or how did they put that? Do you remember that? There was some quote around the time of Mass Effect 1 or 2 where they were basically just like, oh, like every game should have some RPG in it. That's just that's the special sauce on like every genre now.
For me, it was at some point just trying to figure out within probably GameSpot, like, some game of the year genre awards, and people just being like losing their mind over where to put a game.
Yep.
Is it a platformer? Is it an RPG? Is it an action RPG? Is action RPG might mean is Diablo an action RPG, or what is a third person adventure RPG action game? Like, at some point it really got nasty and messy.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't matter anymore.
No. Yeah. So anyway, going back to this run-based roguelite experience, you do bring some skill tree stuff with you, but really the awesome thing is we're burying the lead here. You get a ship, which is pretty damn cool, and you're out in space. And I really thought this was going to be a what was the game that I think you played it with your friends also?
Marauders?
We played it. Yes, I thought it was going to be more of a Marauders, where it's a first-person shooter.
Yeah, so did I. So it is a first-person game, but there's no first-person combat as such. There's no hand-to-hand. You don't even see other people besides your 3 crew members. And yeah, there's no like guns to equip on your character. Like any and all combat is ship-based. It's just space combat.
Yeah.
All the on-foot stuff is mostly working the ship, like 80%.
I mean, there's some scavenging.
And then
right?
the scavenging, occasionally you'll board like a derelict satellite or something to scavenge stuff and bring it back. But like, it's mainly an operating your ship game. And man, it's cool as hell.
The timers seemed
it's brutal.
tough.
Yes. Yeah. The game's brutal.
So there's as you're kind of going around, the real threat here is you're constantly besieged by things warping in and basically want to end your existence. So the longer you take in establishing safety to go scavenge, to bring the stuff back from the scavenge, your ship feels under constant assault. And those timers basically never give you when we played, felt like they were never giving you enough reprieve to feel like you could kind of take your time.
Yeah, so I went and played a bunch more of this after that stream by myself, because there is a ship in there that's kind of earmarked for one player. And I'll say right now, next time we stream that thing, we should maybe see if it'll let you take more than one person into the one player ship.
Oh,
it's the same as the small ship we were using, except it comes with some automated systems installed.
That's fine.
So it's got 2 automated guns and also an automated like repair system that will help you like charge up your boost and repair engine trim and stuff like that.
I think this is probably why they make it so you need a seat or you die when you go into warp. You can't do that.
It's very possible they will not let us take multiple people onto the ship with the automation on it. But I did spend enough time with the game to start getting a sense of more of the ins and outs. So there are some ways to soften some of the timer problems.
Okay.
Like every hop you go to, every like scenario, because every like node on your pilgrimage, every hop has like a scenario attached to it. It's like, oh, this one you're ambushing a freighter, this one you have to go destroy these satellites, you know, stuff like that. Every time you get there, that timer does not start. There's a timer, you know, there's a 15-minute timer that's like, oh, the big capital ship of the opposition faction is going to warp in and smear you in 15 minutes, so you better get your stuff done and leave. That timer doesn't actually kick in until they notice you. So if you're really careful,
your way around.
Yeah, if you're really careful about going to some of those like outlying satellites, like we were trying to loot to get better stuff, you can do that without the timer kicking in. But you have to be really careful, because if you get within range of any of the fighters or anything, they immediately start that timer. There are ways to interdict some of those jumps into the system, you know, because they give you some notice, like, hey, like a unknown jump signal detected, you know, and then you see a little timer counting down. Like, there's certain things you can destroy to stop some of those jumps from happening.
Oh.
So if you're really on top of your shit, you can kind of manage the flood of stuff coming in on you.
Okay.
But it's still very hard. I mean, I was playing by myself with the automated ship, like I said, which helped, but it's still fucking brutal. Like, it's just a very punishing game.
Yeah, the loop, though, as punishing as it felt, was extremely fun.
It's super cool.
Like, you were mostly piloting. Will Smith was with us, and he was mostly handling engineering.
Yeah,
I was trying to handle gunning stuff, and you know, you have the skills per class you're basically taking. There's one other class, the scavenger one, which gets a sick grappling hook, which was pretty sad when we didn't have that. But like on the gunning side, I had a thing that let me go into this overdrive, like rapid fire mode, but it had a long cooldown. I think, Brad, what was your piloting one? Like faster void drive?
Yeah, pilot has an ability to charge up the void drive really fast, which is like your warp drive to jump out of the system when shit's going wrong. But while you're charging the void drive, the ship gets way slower and less maneuverable. So like everything in this game is like a huge trade-off.
And I think Will had like magnet boots, I think.
Yeah.
That, and you can pick some different stuff. And the skill tree seems so useful. It's one of those games where you want to just keep getting points in it, right? Like, you're like, oh man, I need more skills here. And we played with 3 people, which I think was doable. Having a 4th, obviously, I don't know if the game is scaling up difficulty for having a 4th, but you know, you could see where the utility of a 4th person would come in handy. Hey, get on an extra gun or charge the thing. Do you know if there are any other players entering our world, or is it only PvE?
No, it's just 4 players PvE.
Okay.
It is very Sea of Thieves like, except for the encountering other crews of people.
Okay.
Like this game would be like ridiculously cool if it had that kind of massively multiplayer aspect to it.
It might change the dynamic for me, honestly. Like the PvE part was threatening enough where we definitely didn't need some other Yahoo swarming in and take us, because I wanted some predictability in the E part of it, where you're like, okay, we're playing against the computer. We know how they're not just going to all form into a single column or something weird. There were enough variety in what we saw in some of the ships to be like, what the hell is this new thing? Like the bomber or the interceptor, the thing. It was cool. And then, you know, getting out and scavenging resources to be like, we can make another gun if we just get this thing. We can make more shields.
Yep. The spacewalk stuff is super tense because you have pretty limited oxygen in your spacesuit, but the oxygen is also used for like your jump jets for some insane reason. Whoever designed that should be fired into the sun. So the more you like pilot yourself around when you're outside of the ship in your suit, the less oxygen you have to breathe. So
especially so if you boost and want to go faster.
So like there's a lot of like really short time limits on how long you can go out of the ship and go get loot to make better ship stuff with. And then we got into that last run we did where we were like, the objective was like repair a satellite and then wait for the data download.
Yeah.
But they were warping stuff in everywhere on us. And the download was super slow, but if you went back into the satellite and repaired a bunch of shit, the download would speed up. So I was like, okay, I can't stop moving because we are getting bombarded from 8,000 ships. Like, okay, Will, go stand in the airlock.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to boost right at the satellite, and at the last second, you jump out of the airlock and like try to jump into the satellite and go repair that stuff. And like, that didn't go.
No, he got shredded.
But like, but the game really lends itself to a lot of creative thinking around stuff like that. You know, just like, hey, we've got all these ship systems and abilities. Like, how can we like seat of our pants, like try to pull some stuff off on the fly to survive this brutal shit?
And I love a game like this that has reward for specializing, for being like, okay, pilot, gunner, engineer, like you're just better at these particular things. Like you should not like a player class, but like you'll be better if you do. But also utility in like, okay, let's all just leave the ship, or like everybody get on guns, or whatever it is, you could still do it. You're not locked out of those things. And just the atmosphere it's well rendered. I just like the vibe of it
for sure. It's really hitting that fantasy of having a spaceship and managing all the parts of it, because like all the systems take power and you have to manage the power budget. So you're like flipping things on and off. You're repairing stuff as it breaks. It's got like a lot of modularity, to the upgrades, because you have like a bunch of bays around the ship that you install the different systems into that you can build. So you have to decide like, okay, I've only got 3 bays left. Do I build another power thing, or do I put another gun? Should I have all my guns on the same side of the ship? Like, how do I want to balance my shields? Like, there's just so much to like customize as you run the ship. It's pretty awesome.
And so, we did the, for folks who are curious, there's, we did a ship, I think it was a 3-person ship. And then you said the single player ship, but we started on a massive ship. We just got lost.
That was way too much.
Like it was too big a ship.
Even 4 people, I feel like you'd have to really learn the ship layout for that big one well, even with 4 people to run it correctly.
So, I hope we should go back into it. A lot of fun. Void Crew.
I would say if you want, if we're going to stream it again, you could try a run or 2 by yourself with that automated ship, because as punishing it as it is by yourself, I still found it easier to complete objectives because it's doing so much for you. Like it's straight up auto targeting and shooting everything for you, for example. So I was able to get to level 4 from level 1 in 1 run. I didn't finish the run, but I finished enough objectives. If you finish 1 objective, it almost gets you to level 3. So even a couple of successful hops, like jumps to different systems, will get you some skill points to upgrade your character.
And do you get to spend those skill points across all 4 of your profiles?
Yeah, you've got a profile for each class, and you can spend the same, and you can also respec at any moment. In fact, you actually just right click a thing you put points into, and it'll just subtract the points out of there. So it's extremely customizable how you build that stuff. I found the skill to double the amount of oxygen in the suit.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Is that on the scavenger tree?
Yeah.
Okay. Scavenger. That's
stealth best class.
Maybe when I was looking up playing with 3 people, it was always the one that said like, take or leave the scavenger, but make sure you have the engineer, the gunner, and the pilot. Void Crew, $25 over on the PC. I had a lot of fun with it. We should definitely jump back in more. And I will try and get in a solo ship, even if it's just to try out all the different parts, because there are a lot of different parts of the ship that you probably, or you might not see because you're trying to sit in a gun turret and blast little ship.
Yeah, that would be super handy, actually. Yes, absolutely. Like if you just like try piloting for a while, you'll understand how the piloting stuff works and that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. That's Void Crew. I think that's it for the games we were touching this week.
I mean, I did play some more Civ 7. Nothing too new to report on that front, other than I think I've just sort of crystallized my issues with that game, which mostly really boil down to I think that UI needs a full overhaul. Like, there's just stuff in that game that feels like it does not surface the way it should. There are decisions I find myself making in that game where I don't fully understand what it is I'm even actually doing. And also, I think they need to figure out a way to make parts of the cities you build out a little bit more visually distinctive, because sometimes I have no idea what district it has, what buildings in it, what bonuses I'm getting from it, other than just sort of hovering over them and seeing the numbers pop up. And it's just, the districts in 6, you knew what those were. They were very specific and specialized, and they were color-coded in a way that you really could tell what they are. I think they're kind of lacking that here. I still think the game is fun, and I'm going back to it repeatedly, but I'm not maybe having that obsessive immediate quality that I sometimes have with Civ games. It might take some fixes for me to get there.
I wonder if they'll do that. I wonder if they'll go in and do some...
I think they know.
Okay.
I think they know what the problems are, and it sounds like they are already working towards some of that stuff.
Do they sell a season pass for that? Like, is there any indication of when the first like major paid update comes out?
So I bought the expensive edition, which came with a bunch of like DLC stuff already kind of embedded in it. So it's possible that some of that stuff is just like built into those, DLC campaigns that you would have to pay for otherwise. I don't know. I haven't seen anything specific for you bought a season pass for this.
Civ 7
still out there.
Still out
Still
there.
a threat.
All right. That's going to do it for the games. We're going to take another quick break here, and we'll be back with the news, so stick around. And we are back. And something that's never gone away, something that probably will never go away, are industry layoffs. And generally, we have talked a lot about those, particularly in the last year and a half, 2 years, but industry-wide layoffs.
Don't say never, man. That's, oh, God.
Look, people are going to get laid off.
No, I understand that.
Before you can do it.
But this state of perpetual layoff that we have been living in for the last, 2 years now.
Let's call it industry contraction that we have felt. But sometimes, some of those layoff stories feel so bizarre, they rise above the rest. And Brad, one of these feels very bizarre.
Yeah, I feel like I'm making a calculation literally every week now about okay, here are 3 more layoff stories. Should we talk about these? Because if we talk about all of them, we'll never talk about anything else. Is there a news angle on this? Last week it was Crytek and they were putting Crysis 4 on hold. This week it's the people who made Marvel Rivals, which is arguably last year's biggest game release.
I mean, it is one of the biggest free-to-play games currently going right now.
Yeah, I know I quote him frequently, but Matt Piscatella, the analyst, said on Blue Sky, the way he phrased it was, it broke through the live service wall.
Yeah.
It's
in a big way.
It's the first game in ages that, is actually running with the Fortnites and Minecrafts and, the Forever games. We have a new Forever game. And the details seem still pretty murky because most of this came out of LinkedIn posts made by the people who were affected. So there's no comprehensive reporting yet on how many people or exactly what the nature of all this was, other than the very vague boilerplate that NetEase put out. But it seems like it's the US based developers of Marvel Rivals.
Seattle specifically, it sounded like.
And so we don't know how many people that is because development was split between the US and China.
So the numbers I have seen repeatedly basically range between 6 and 12 people overall.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that certainly is not making it okay, but that does put it in a little more context that this was not the bulk of the people who made the game, but it was very high level staff. It was the director of the game was the one who posted about this on LinkedIn to.
Yeah, this is a design team. It is not a QA support studio.
Right. These are people who were making key decisions on the course of this project. And again, you can't overstate how big Marvel Rivals has gotten in a very short time.
I mean, and that is probably the key thing here, right? The key thing on this story is this is an extremely successful game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Above and beyond where publishers would hope their game lands, especially in this live service space.
Well, and on top of that, it slid in literally a matter of weeks, maybe a month or two at most, under one of the biggest high-profile failures in live service games of the exact same kind of hero shooter.
Sure.
It somehow just leaped right over that failure and said, "Yeah, but we have Marvel heroes, so we're gonna last."
And now both teams have experienced significant cuts to their workforce.
Yeah.
So what do we know? It's probably not even worth Brad reading the NetEase statement because it's just
it's a nothing statement.
It's
difficult decision to adjust development team structure for organizational reasons and to optimize development efficiency.
Right. So nothing, which is, what I don't expect necessarily more than that from NetEase or, a major conglomerate like that. It's just, it's telling the exact way of we're not actually going to explain this to you.
Yeah.
I guess they do go on to say that, look, we're doing fine. We're shifting.
Clearly.
We're shifting the core development over to, they named some staff over in China, right?
Yes.
That's what they say, NetEase says in their statement.
And there's been reporting on that going around for, I think, the last year or so, that NetEase has been making, taking a long, hard look at a lot of their foreign investment stuff, and it sounded like there has been an internal push over the last year to start moving more and more things internal in China.
Yeah, that's going around. It's not...
They haven't confirmed it, but it's been reported on multiple places.
It's not 100% substantiated, but I believe he was a cinematics director from Bungie, John Ebbinger, posted on Blue Sky this morning, or I'm sorry, it was yesterday after this happened. The only insight I can possibly add is that I'd heard NetEase is pulling all investments out of North America. Started last year. So, and they have cut ties with a couple of other developers that they were funding here. I think I want to say Mac Walters' studio that I think we talked about, one of the Mass Effect veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember there was like a kind of smattering of studios losing funding a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Some people have pointed at some of that stuff as maybe being more evidence of this, but it doesn't seem like it's fully substantiated or not. So this could be part of a larger divestment going on, and not purely a, hey, you got the game out the door, now we can support it without you move, although I'm sure it's that as well. It's
tough to kind of, for me to, and I'm sure this will be reported on, and this is probably a bigger story than even just this, but divest what's going on in geopolitics from what's going on here in development and what's going on in terms of the nature of game development, like we just said, overall, right? Like studios, NetEase is huge.
Yeah.
It's
and they have a lot of people that work for them in China.
A lot of people that work for them in China. I can't speak to what the relationship is with the Chinese government, other than it's with the Chinese government, right? Like, yeah. I don't know the nature of that.
I'm sure it's very similar to the way a lot of other major conglomerates work with the Chinese government.
So them pulling out, and if it is true that they are pulling out their investments from specifically North American development houses, I think is significant for, having that development solely take place in China as a shift. They have a lot of talent, obviously, in that market. It'll be an interesting way for reconfiguring, and for a long time, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it was a lot of Western developers trying to figure out how to get their thing in the hands of Chinese players, right? Like for such a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have we have significant games that coming out of the Chinese market.
Yeah, the Chinese development scene over the last decade has bloomed in a major way, both like independent and, like these sort of conglomerate-owned studios. Like there is just a much bigger footprint from the Chinese video game industry and stuff that we can play in the West.
Yeah, so obviously, I think personally, look, I'm not alone here, leading a team that has made a groundbreaking, if not innovative.
Let's not call it groundbreaking. Let's just say very successful.
Well, I was going to say groundbreaking in that it profited in the sea of live service games. But yeah, not groundbreaking necessarily in its mechanics and slapping them onto hero shooter. But like, you did it. You did it. You stood out.
100%.
Look, how much of that is the Marvel license? I'm not
does
here
a lot.
to
You still did
a lot. I mean, to be fair, a lot, but still.
A lot. But like, you shouldn't be rewarded with layoffs. That just sucks in general. No matter if you're pulling your development internally back to your native country or not, that's just a shitty thing. So
I think at this point now, you can. There's no indication that this is necessarily part of a larger geopolitical trend, but at the same time, something like this prominent with a game this big, does to me, at the very least, set off some alarm bells about what is the actual value of investing in North American companies right now if you are a foreign entity. Like, China is a very specific example because of the sort of tension that exists between, the way companies work in China versus the way they work in the West. But I do wonder if this, the current geopolitical situation is maybe going to lead to a number of companies in other countries, not just China, taking a long, hard look at their investments and what's going on in North America and saying, this might not be worth the trouble for us anymore.
Could be. I don't know. I mean,
this is pure speculation. I don't know.
Like, the thing we do know is places like Tencent have a lot of investments in Western companies, publishers and developers. They own certain percentages of a lot, and
let's not forget the TikTok company. ByteDance. Like, they also had investments, as we learned when Marvel Snap went down.
So I don't know. It's a crappy story. Just on because it also sounds like this. Again, we're just reporting at this point, and what people are saying, but it doesn't sound like this was a known thing. Like, hey, we're going to contract you until this time, and then we're going to close down the studio. This sounds like maybe like a rug pull of, geez, I just woke up and now our team is laid off. What it sounds like.
That was the tone that the message from the person who worked there, it was like the first person to say, hey, I got laid off from here. Like, that was very much the tone of like, I really didn't see this coming.
Totally. Like, we thought we were doing fine. So yeah, maybe a bigger story out there than even just that. We'll have to kind of see what
we're going to see where the dominoes fall, because there's a lot left to determine here.
But a lot of investment money out of China in games. I think I could try and say it. I know I'd get a lot wrong, but at least Epic, right, has
Tencent owns a pretty large chunk of Epic. I think they've got money in Sony, right?
They do,
if I'm not mistaken.
At least I remember that.
It's almost. I feel like we'd have to really sit down and go through it because I feel like they are spread across minor investments and major investments across
them, and NetEase were the ones that I feel like were handing out the most like individual investments from the Chinese section of the game industry.
Yeah. NetEase had put $100 million into Bungie years ago for a project that has not yet come out.
So and it seems to me internally Chinese development is getting just stronger and more mature. Wukong felt like a very strong signal from inside of China that like, hey, we are here to compete in the development scene.
But I mean, you're seeing it like on smaller levels too, like in the indie space. There are Chinese developers. I mean, what did we play that FMV game that came out of China a couple years ago?
I was going to say, but I thought I was going to be embarrassed. I can only speak to the amount of FMV games that have come out of China and been like, they're not that bad.
But that's indicative.
They're leading the industry.
Yeah. Listen. Wherever the FMV goes, so goes the industry. Like the trends are always
Interactive really sparked off a revolution.
What I'm saying
is shade on Wales Interactive. I like their games.
What I'm saying is that when the FMV games can be produced, that is usually a byproduct of a healthy industry. When the FMV dies, that means that everything is falling apart.
I love it. So. Feel free to speculate like we did. I mean, I'm sure people are looking at this with a macro lens as well to see what's going on.
I mean, there was a lot of panic when this news started coming out because of how bad the layoff season has been for the last 2 years. And, I think seeing a little bit of a more measured response from like analysts saying like, this might be part of a larger push within NetEase to divest of certain things is not necessarily indicative of wiping the slate of these people who made this incredibly successful game. I think that calmed that a little bit, but I still think it maybe bears bad portent for where things are going to go, especially if you are a company in the US that is reliant on foreign investment.
Certainly doesn't do a lot to say, even if you had a successful launch and have a successful product out there, you're safe, right?
There is no safe. It does not exist right now.
It's pretty striking.
Shifting gears here and grinding them with a loud clunking sound. Sony.
Let's talk about product now.
Yeah,
Sony got out there and announced the video games. In the future of video games.
Yes. Didn't we cover this last week? In great exhaustive detail.
Yes, we had the hottest. We had the hottest live react to somebody half reading a series of press releases at the very end of the podcast as this was happening last week.
I want to clarify for the commenterati out there that we did not plan to bleed into the state of play. We were supposed to be out of the podcast by that point. It was we did not forget that it was happening.
No.
Yeah, we thought we were going to start earlier than we did
and end before it, and then also starting. We had talked about maybe taking a break and coming back, but then getting the podcast up and edited would have been we had no idea what was going to be shown there. I was not actually expecting that much, which is my segue into I was wrong. There's actually a decent amount there at State of Play.
Yes, the PlayStation State of Play happened last week around this time. I thought it would be worth just circling back and touching on some of the highlights. It's a new Housemarque game. Kind of seems like the marquee thing. That's the thing they saved for last. I would have said Saros, but the director said it more like Saros.
Okay.
Sure.
Saros?
Saros.
K.
Saros.
Yeah. Real Returnal vibes. From,
Like reading what they said on the PlayStation blog, I'm like kind of shocked how much it seems like it's another Returnal, like, even though it's like they say explicitly, hey, that was a story and that was told, like this is a new story. It's got Rahul Kohli playing the protagonist in this one. It's a different universe and stuff. But like what they said about the gameplay and even some of the little visual touches in that trailer with the bullet hell reflected in his eye.
Yeah.
And they've pretty much made it clear in the write-up that this is another like run-based third-person game where the world changes run to run. Like it sounds very much like a design-wise, like a Returnal follow-up, if not a story follow-up.
It is probably very telling that on the PlayStation blog post for it, they call out a key distinction.
Yes, that was the line. It was like, key distinction between Returnal and Saros is this. It's like, okay, so you're saying they're at their core pretty much very similar games then?
And it was permanent resources and progression. So, which is a key distinction. I will say that is
sure.
absolutely a key distinction.
Yeah, I'll play another one of those. That Returnal was a cool game.
Yeah,
I wish I liked Returnal. I super didn't. I kind of wish House. I mean, I saw some other people share the sentiment. I don't know how widespread it is, but it is the one that I hold, which is that I really wish Housemarque had not been proven correct, that they should not make the kinds of games they used to anymore, and instead go into this much more like bigger budget production space, because obviously they were very clearly rewarded with Returnal, and this is the direction they are going in now.
Yeah. I mean, I think Returnal was a very neat game. Like, it had a lot of cool ideas and like blended stuff in a way that I had not seen before. I mean, I think it also got a pretty big lift out of being practically or one of the first like native PS5 exclusives.
Yes.
Like, I can't remember, did it come out before or after Ratchet? I think it was before.
I want to say it was right around the same time. I think
it beat Ratchet out by like 3 months or something like that. Like, people were like dying for some PS5 exclusive games at that point.
God, I forgot how bad that launch was.
Which is, again, not to say that the game did not deserve its success or anything.
No, not at all.
I quite liked Returnal.
Yeah.
The difficulty spike on it, I hit a point where I was like, man, this just got really hard.
Yeah, same.
I just didn't think it was that fun, but I think I might be in the minority on that one.
I really liked them bringing their kind of arcade game bullet hell sensibilities into a third-person space.
Sure.
Like, the idea of dodging bullet patterns like that in a third-person action game was really cool.
Let me tell you a little bit of a game called Nier Automata.
Yeah, sure.
There's a fair amount of that in there.
Yeah, fair. You're not wrong.
And you know what other kind of genre needs bullet hell kind of mechanics right now? The fucking bullet hell genre.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Maybe the bullet hell genre needs more heavy narrative in their games. I also like the Returnal setup. Like, the premise was.
Yeah. I like the premise of it.
Yeah. It just got too hard. Got too hard for me.
Sure.
Tell me about what one of the makers, sure. We'll call them makers of a GTA might make.
It's the Benz.
God.
If he's not a fucking, Hauser brother, he absolutely belongs in that same conversation.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I've ever like seen the Benz in person before or heard him speak until now.
How is that possible?
I don't know. It's because by all accounts, the Benz was behind the scenes getting stuff done. Too busy to get on camera.
Yeah.
Well, now he's getting it done with a new game.
And
I don't know, man. I'm
pretty GTA-ish.
That trailer is extremely GTA-ish, but I don't know if that's what the game is necessarily.
That is my question. MindsEye is the game we're talking about. It's the Build a Rocket Boy game from Leslie Benzies, the former GTA producer. I think he was a producer, right, on GTA?
I mean, he was like kind of the producer, yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've just built this up in my mind with the Benz. Is he not like a fixer?
Yes. That was his reputation.
That's kind of how it was described. It was like, I mean, you never know how much of this is just some like kind of lighthearted myth making around stuff like that. It was kind of like, give me the Benz, like we got to get this thing out the door,
right, okay.
Kind of thing. But anyway, he left Rockstar and has started his own studio. Everything they've shown in this game makes it seem like a GTA like everything. All the short clips of gameplay look like they could be sewn together into an urban open world. But is it actually open world? Because they don't come out and say that.
Yeah. So it's near future Earth, right?
Yeah.
There's AI gone bad, right?
Yeah,
yes.
It's kind of AI and neural implants fucking up the future, ultra wealthy, destroying society kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to kind of bolster the GTA stuff, from the clips they have shown, it is a lot of behind the back third person off to the side of the screen, like blowing up, unloading and blowing up gas station. I assume are future gas stations. And
there's a neighborhood that straight up looks like Grove Street in that trailer.
Right. Yes. There's that. And it was the blowing up gas pumps thing was also the thing that made me go, okay, is this GTA? Because it sure does seem like you were leaning into that kind of urban destruction.
Yeah.
Really hard.
There was like almost no shots of that main character not holding a gun in that trailer.
Yeah.
Or driving a car.
Like, I mean, there's like one of the subheaders on the PlayStation blog post is strategic combat and high octane driving.
Okay.
So like those are both things that are in GTA style games, but are you saying that like one blends seamlessly with the other or not?
Is it like a Spy Hunter thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I'm curious to see how this is stitched together.
Right. Because this could just be like linear mission to linear mission.
Yeah, it could be.
It could. But there are definitely shots in the gameplay footage that look kind of like big open city environment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Could be cool.
That's this year, right? Yes.
Yes. That is
summer
this year.
I wouldn't say that trailer knocked me on my ass or anything, but I was kind of prepared for this to be very GTA-like anyway, so I'm just ready to see what it actually is.
I'm kind of with you. Like I'll give it a look when it comes out, but I feel it's got a bit to prove, I would say.
I kind of dug it. I think I just like the near future setting.
Yeah, sure.
So that's kind of cool to me, and I think I might be more excited about this than actual next GTA. Just
okay, that's I
know
I cannot follow you down that path, but I respect that you were saying it.
I know. I don't know. I
could see it. I could see it. Like, you know, I don't think the GTA games never have been the strongest in gameplay terms. Like there's always been like other open world games I enjoyed playing more than like the Rockstar games have like story that prop them up in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how the Saints Row games gained purchase to begin with, was they were just GTA games with way more generic story but just better mechanics.
Right.
Also, those explosions looked really good in the trailer. Pretty good explosions.
Yeah, it was a pretty good looking game.
One there that I think looks awesome. I'm just going to jump the gun here and just say that top of my list maybe might be that Directive 8020 game.
I was and I guess still am with you. Like for 80% of that trailer, I was like, dude, this looks awesome. It's like Supermassive doing space horror now. Are they just doing the thing?
They might just be doing space thing.
Like when it got to the point where I was like, this is just the thing. Then I was like, okay, I don't know. There's got to be something to set this apart.
The thing is the thing.
Like, the thing is it is a thing.
It literally is like alien organism infects the ship that can imitate people.
You don't know who's your friends or not?
Straight up a line about like it's replacing us one by one or whatever kind of thing. It's like,
I mean, look, the thing did not invent the body snatchers concept. That has been around for a long time, and there's been many permutations of it. But I mean, you're not wrong that this trailer is absolutely evoking some very specific vibes. Granted, it's in space, but like there is definitely that isolation aspect of it as well that feels like, you know, everyone's being replaced. Like it is absolutely capturing some of that.
And, you know, I'm not trying to give them a pass on just maybe copying certain things. But
that's kind of what they do.
That's kind of what they do. It's kind of what the Dark Pictures are like. Hey,
like the Quarry is just summer camp horror.
Sure,
like, you know, like writ large.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. It's like, hey, remember this?
Yeah.
Now here it is with
Here's
in
our
a different
spin
setting.
on it. Yeah.
But it looks really good. The space stuff looks like my kind of space stuff. Like I don't know what you call that that like clean space, you know, clean future space. I don't know. I dig it. Looking forward to it. I just want the Dark Picture stuff to keep going. So the more I see of this stuff, the more
is this a Dark Pictures game or is it more of a Quarry thing?
I think it is because you remember when they announced like 5 new Dark Pictures games all at once, like 3 years ago? I'm pretty sure this was one of them.
Okay, it's just I feel like in the most recent promo materials they haven't really mentioned the Dark Pictures thing.
Their blurb at the end at the end of the Sony blog mentions Dark Pictures, but I don't know if it's a Dark Pictures TM game.
Like, are they maybe getting away from that?
That's possible because actually on the product page is up on Steam now, and it is just listed as Directive 8020.
Yeah, so like I don't know if it is a Dark Pictures anthology thing. It might just be, like you said, like a bigger Quarry thing, not like the Dark Pictures Presents.
Yeah, maybe
I'll just roll it all into the same thing.
Maybe after the Quarry did well, they just thought to themselves that they don't necessarily need that extra branding on top of it. I don't know.
Or like I always imagined it like the Dark Pictures games are maybe a little smaller.
Yeah, maybe this one got bigger.
Yeah, maybe this one just got bigger. Maybe this was one of those anthology games that just kind of ballooned up a little bit.
My guess looking at this is that Dark Pictures is a name owned by Bandai Namco.
Ha!
Because Directive 8020 is the first game on Steam published by Supermassive itself.
Interesting.
So I wonder if they had a deal with Namco to put it out under that label that ended up not coming together, and that now they are self-publishing and no longer have that name.
Yeah, maybe that deal is just over now.
Is my guess.
Could be.
Here's the thing. I don't think it matters. They don't need it.
Is, yeah, I'm sure it's the same. Like I started to say there was nothing connecting those games. I guess
just the narrator.
The narrator. Like the narrator was the one little touch, which maybe they could still get away with.
I mean, if this leads to them bringing back Peter Stamari instead of that other guy, who is fine, but he's not Peter Stamari, then I would be A-okay with that.
But even the Quarry had Grace Zabriskie?
Yes, or bring her back. Either way.
Yeah, or introduce another great narrator.
Yes, get somebody else. Who else?
Find me a new character actor.
So that game looked pretty cool. How about Shinobi?
Yeah,
that looked awesome.
Yes, that looks great. I felt like it was notable, like right at the top of the PlayStation blog article on that game, which is written by a communications manager from Sega. Just over a year ago at the Game Awards 2023, Sega teased the revival of several legacy franchises. Today, we are excited to formally announce the first of those games. Like, it's not been that long since we brought that up, right? At some point in the last month or something, there was like, hey, remember when Sega was like, hey, Crazy Taxi and Golden Axe and all these games are coming back, and then went silent. So I guess this is an acknowledgement that, hey, we are finally ready to actually show some of those. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is the name.
It's got a real like Saturday morning cartoon look to it, which
definitely
the art is pretty rad. The thing I don't know if they had announced this or not, but I didn't realize it was Lizard Cube who did that Dragon. I'm sorry, Wonder Boy. The Wonder Boy, like not a remaster, is it? Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know if that was a full like remake or was that a. I'm stumbling all over this reference right now because that game came out.
It's been a while.
8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. I remember doing the quick look at Chime Bomb of it. Like, that was an awesome 2D action game that Wonder Boy is, the old Sega franchise. That game was awesome. Like, the art was really cool in that. The action was, like, way better than you expected. That was more of a Metroidvania. This kind of looks more like just a level-based side-scroller. Anyway, the developer did a really good job with the last one of these types of games that I played from them.
So this sent me down a rabbit hole of trying to remember how many Shinobi games I have actually played in my lifetime. And what I think I realized somewhat tragically is I have played exactly one, and it's Shinobi.
Okay. Well, you never played Revenge of Shinobi?
I don't think I've ever actually played Revenge of Shinobi.
Dude, you're going to play one Shinobi game.
I mean, Shinobi 1's pretty good, too.
Yeah, it's fun. Arcade or Master System?
It might have been the NES version, actually.
Wait, did Shinobi 1 come out on NES?
I think it did.
Sure about that?
I think it did.
Are you sure about that?
That always seemed like a Sega thing.
Yeah, that was like right in the middle of the Sega and Nintendo war.
I'm gonna call foul on that, but I could be wrong.
No, there is a conversion to the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Weird.
Does it have the seal of approval? Is
that I don't know.
Is that come on a black cartridge?
It was literally a Tengen release.
It was. Oh my god!
Literally was unlicensed. An unlicensed Tengen release in 1989.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
I have definitely also played the arcade version of this at some point or another. So that is not the only experience I've had with Shinobi. But that's the thing is, I still don't think I've played Revenge of Shinobi.
Gotta go get yourself an original version ROM of Revenge of Shinobi so you can fight Spider-Man.
I mean, I probably have it on my tiny Sega Genesis.
Well, I mean, if it's shipped with that, it's probably the non-copyright infringing version of the game.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I may have put it onto my tiny Sega Genesis.
Of course.
I don't actually remember what games were on the Sega Genesis by default.
Yeah, and anyway, that looks cool. The art looks extremely nice. It looks like some really, really cool abilities and stuff.
I was a Ninja Gaiden guy.
Well, you're gonna get that? You're gonna get that that 2D one, right? Aren't they redoing
I am definitely going to try that one out.
Ragebound. I kind of hate that I've become this person that every time I see a 2D game like this, I hope it's a Metroidvania now and not just a side scroller. But I think both of those games are just sides. Look, Ninja's got a scroll.
Yeah.
Yep. Damn right.
But ninjas can also get cool gear.
Yeah, true.
And better stuff to climb a wall.
Ninja's got a climb and grappling hook too.
Mm-hmm. And throw stars.
Triple jump, Ninja, they have the double jump. But
only ninjas can do that.
Yeah, can only triple jump. That looked really cool. That definitely stood out to me. Anything else you guys have?
That was most of the big stuff. Like Days Gone remaster is interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting move. I might try that game again.
I don't know if I have that one in me.
I don't know.
You don't have a little freaker in you?
No, I just, me and Deacon Frost, or Deacon St. John, whatever the fuck his name was. Deacon Frost was the Blade villain. We just never really aligned. I just never really got the vibe of that guy.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see.
There is this WWE 2K25 thing that they introduced.
I skipped that part of the stream, but I did absorb. I think that was my first experience of Paul Heyman.
And how did you find it?
It was a lot to take in.
He is a lot. He is a very intense presence.
I was like, man, this guy probably makes a lot of money just be talking.
That's primarily how he has made his hay, yes.
He's pretty good at like talking forcefully and with a lot of oomph behind it. And now I'm going to skip past the rest of the segment.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, that is the Paul Heyman thing. He is probably one of the most gifted speakers in all of wrestling, and also a dirtbag in the way that a lot of other wrestling people are. But anyway, the point is they introduced this social space into the new WWE game, which seems a lot like the idea, at least, of the social space in all those NBA 2K games, where you go run around a hub world and find various ways to give 2K more money.
Sure.
Of course. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. I can't say this is actually doing anything at all for me and my enjoyment with those games. It's not really what I was asking for, but I'll try it out. I don't play those things in those NBA games either. Like, that's not how I want to approach a sports game.
Yeah, and gotta be honest with you, like, I don't know, anything wrestling right now,
especially anything WWE right now.
Yeah, warranted or not, is really just like I'm just kind of doing a hand wave.
I am 100% with you and totally understand that.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd say just like 3 things that I thought looked cool to keep an eye on. Darwin's Paradox, that little octopus puzzle.
Yeah, that was very cute.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little Abe's Odyssey-ish
kind of.
Escape the Factory.
The Midnight Walk, which was that first-person game that has like a stop-motion animation kind of look to it. I don't know what kind of game exactly that'll be, but it sure did look cool. And then, what was the new Pixel Junk game?
Dreams of Another?
Yes, Dreams of Another.
I was going to bring that up, but I was trying to figure out, I'm not exactly sure what the hell that game is.
Look, man, there's no destruction without creation.
That is true.
Like, it seems, from the footage, it seems like a guy wandering around in pajamas with an assault rifle and a bazooka, like shooting things back into existence.
Sure.
And in a really weird, like, pointillist or like voxel looking kind of art style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the vibe to me initially, before they said it was a Pixel Junk game, I was like, was this made in Dreams? Is this a new?
Yes, sure. It definitely has that kind of vibe to it.
But yeah, I mean, it looks cool, and it was definitely on my list of things to check out. I'm not really quite sure what's going on.
Yeah,
it's fair because maybe it's
I don't think you're supposed to yet.
Maybe we're not supposed to know yet. Maybe you got to experience it. But also a PSVR 2 game. So, we did get one of those.
Yes, Midnight Walk also sounds like optionally works in VR.
Yeah.
Wait, I had the bet in on one thing that was PSVR 2, right, on that show. That was the wager I made.
Yes.
Do we got what about
I win?
But neither is exclusive to PSVR 2 though. So how does that factor in?
I never made that statement.
All right.
I just said that 1 or 2 things would be there at most.
That's also 2025 for the folks keeping the score out there.
Stuff coming out this year. Like, I kind of can't believe that Snake Eater, the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, is not coming out until August. But it is finally coming out in August. Borderlands 4 as well.
If you want to get in the test for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, that is going on, I think, in February now, or soon. Yeah,
that looked pretty good.
It does look pretty good, and the cars transform.
Yep, and they got portals.
They referenced Sonic and Racing Transformed in their write-up of it, even to be like, because we know the good one. Yeah, the portal stuff could be super interesting. I mean, that's very Ratchet and Clank. It's very similar of like, hey, this portal opened up and instantly you're just in a different environment.
Okay, but how incredible is it that the first real big pivot off of that mechanic, which we all thought was fucking rad when it came out in Ratchet and Clank, is a Sonic racing game?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 did the fast travel stuff.
And I think it even might have done some like open a portal and fling
You're
through.
right. Okay, the first non-Sony thing to do that.
Yeah. Well, Sega's out there just making sure they make good on everybody else's technology. And look, I'm not going to say Sonic Racing is not just Mario Kart, but better. I'm just going to say it is better. Not all of them. Sonic and Racing Transformed. But this one, the rest have been kind of dog crap. But this one looks like it could be good.
I agree.
Yeah. And
I'll play
also,
it with you.
Sonic Ascendant right now. Sonic Hot.
How did that third movie do?
I don't know. I assume they all just make $1 billion now.
Yeah, the Shadow one.
I'm going to look it up. Yeah.
I mean, you got what's his face as Shadow the Hedgehog. You better do all right.
Current box office per Wikipedia is just under 500 million.
Oh, Jesus.
On a $122 million budget. So that's actually kind of low for one of these, but
really.
Oh, well, yeah, I would say. Well, but it hasn't been out that long, right? It came out
at the end of last year.
December.
Yeah. I think it went wide in January.
Okay. Well, that's only a couple of months.
Oh, that's more than the second one made, apparently. So.
All right.
So they'll keep making them.
That first one, though,
Probably.
Jesus.
Probably.
And I don't know how that Knuckles show did, but I assume that did okay.
It wasn't very good, but I'm sure it did fine. I mean, it's on Paramount Plus. It's not like there's much to watch on there.
So now we have Keanu Reeves, Idris Elba, and who's Sonic?
Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz. They're just who's next? Who do we need? Amy. I assume Amy's probably been in them somewhere. I don't know. I haven't watched. I have only watched.
I haven't seen
one.
3 yet.
Okay.
I don't remember Amy being the second one. That was more Tails and Knuckles revolving.
Okay. Is Tails some like high list, highly paid actor?
I think it's the actress who does the cartoon voice for Tails, if I remember correctly. I think they just got her because it's just everyone knows that's Tails.
Okay. That's Tails. Oh man, I'm just looking at the key art here too. For the game, Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, Tails, and who the heck is in the upper left being chased by a dinosaur? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Maybe it's a new one. Maybe it's Strange Eric.
Is it some kind of lizard? I don't know.
Top Wheels Master 69.
Okay, good.
I'm always thinking about him.
Anything else you guys want to call out from the Sony State of Play?
Not really.
That's pretty
pretty packed though.
Yeah, decent lineup of stuff.
Yeah. Very decent showing.
Some exciting games out there. And stuff for this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move on again, switching gears now. We talked a little bit about the Benz and the Benz's move into making games that somewhat relate to Grand Theft Auto.
My favorite Radiohead album, The Benz.
The Benz.
Yeah, that's a fine choice.
Mm-hmm.
We also talked about GTA 7 last week. Last week feels like last year. We talked about, hypothetically when a GTA 7 might come out.
What decade?
Based on this story, maybe never.
Let's never say never.
Yes.
I don't know. We'll see. The word is, this is coming out of Digiday, which I like. Listen, publications, please just have a basic about page that says exactly what you are.
They can't.
I had not heard of Digiday before. I gather that it's kind of like an industry marketing, like an
industry rag.
Yes, I was trying to think of a more formal term than rag, but no, let's
bring it back.
The type of publication that covers the business of marketing and digital media and that kind of thing, right? Anyway, they have reported that Rockstar has been out there talking to top creators, quote unquote, who are making stuff in Roblox and Fortnite about potentially doing stuff with GTA 6 Online.
Really makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I really had not thought that much about this, but yeah, that really is the space that GTA Online is playing in these days, right? It is big enough for that, so of course they're going to get into that kind of thing.
My big question with this stuff is what
go on?
Will the people in that GTA Online space move over, or will they just say, "I'm done. I've been here. Or do you just get a whole new crop of people with the next GTA, with GTA 6 that get into that space? Because GTA Online's been around for so long, and there's such a vibrant, strong community there. I wonder, you have to be taking a risk to be like, everybody come over, unless they just shut it down, which again, I think that would be
I don't think they will.
That won't happen.
Yeah.
Not right away anyway.
I mean, that's probably a relatively tricky transition for Take-Two to manage.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those people have been there for a long time.
Yeah, and they've also got the example of Red Dead Online behind them now of like, it is possible for them to try this and have it not work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not catch on, but I mean, just the name alone has got to curry so much favor with that audience that like, I bet they don't have that hard a time getting people to come over, especially because I didn't realize until I read the story that like Rockstar has been acquiring companies that were already hooked into custom stuff for GTA Online.
And just have them do stuff for this.
Like I had not heard of this 5M company that they acquired a few years ago that
they make command strips that are like pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
of course. Yeah.
They're better than 4M.
+2 better than 3M.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, I mean, there's not a lot here other than that this is being talked about and probably is going to happen, but it absolutely makes sense that if they want the new GTA Online to last forever, then having user-made content in it is totally natural.
I think it's a couple of things. I mean, look, GTA 7 is going to sell insane. Or GTA 6 is going to sell insane. We all know this. If that thing works at launch, which is to say that it is not constantly broken, it is not getting hacked to fucking hell within, a week of everyone kind of getting in there, I think you will have absolutely no problem getting people to transfer over whatever their online audience is to making stuff in 6 versus 5, their version of online. I think if that thing is busted as shit and people get driven away from it very quickly, they are going to have a much harder road to hoe to getting people to stay there permanently as that are online space.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it really does come out to like smoothness of launch and how feature rich it is at launch. You have to make it better than current GTA Online, right?
Yeah, and you can be missing a few things, but it really needs to be nearly as robust. Not necessarily in like story content or whatever, but just in like the things you can do.
Yeah, that's the big one that we've seen a lot, right? Is like when you have a big established franchise and then you make the next one, and we were just talking about this maybe with Civ, right? By the end of the life cycle of a Civ, it's so rich and has been iterated on so much that when you launch the new one, sometimes it feels a little
like, where's the game?
Right. And this happens, I hear from you guys, specifically you, Alex, and from Bacalar, like happens with sports franchises a lot, right? Like when you reboot something like an NHL or Madden, sometimes,
like on a new platform,
sometimes you're like, where are all the cool features you did over the course of the 10-year development cycle?
And the answer is usually we had to strip them out because we are trying to reclaim some of the tech debt we have built up over the years. And it's like, it's a real factor. But at the same time, like on the user side of things, you don't really perceive that when you're just trying to play the new version of the game you want.
Right. We're just trying to make the basic stuff work on this new platformer engine. So we'll see. Again, I 100% agree with you. GTA 6 will do just fine. It's really... And
what is the long tail?
And I think GTA, whatever, Online 2 will do just fine too. It is really comparing it to, will it do as well as GTA Online, which is a massive, massive thing. Which is,
I saw a comment going around from someone who said that they at one time worked at Rockstar North. I don't think they do anymore, but they were, people were asking kind of like, what is the actual expectation level for GTA 6? Like, what does it actually have to do to be labeled successful within the halls of Rockstar and 2K? And I think the thing they said was, if it sells as well as GTA 5, it's a failure.
I could see that. I mean, this Digiday story says that the production budget of 6 is rumored to be $2 billion.
It's a lot of billion. That's a lot of dollars.
It's a lot of money on a video game.
To be fair, that's like that $2 billion was probably like 4 years of money they made on GTA Online.
somebody bought $2 billion worth of shark bucks at some point, and it was us. We did it for that feature.
Yeah.
GTA gonna do fine. Maybe I don't know, my transition here. Maybe we'll do fine. More Xboxes in the future. Maybe not.
I don't know. Maybe based on the way the current one is going, I don't know. At least hardware wise, like the software is looking pretty strong for Xbox this year.
Yeah, that's
like they've
true.
got a lot of stuff
much
coming
stronger anyway. Yeah.
Like they've got a lot of games on the slate this year, and Avowed at least is a pretty good sign that hopefully some of them are going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and people love that Indiana Jones. I might not have loved it as much, but
like they've got a pretty good thing going right now.
But what's Phil Spencer saying?
Just a couple of two things here. There's just a couple of quick Xbox hits. The first is from Windows Central. This was like one sentence in this Jez Corden story that has blown up into headlines. They're not even blown up, but it's made headlines elsewhere that pointed me to it. I'm just going to read the sentence because this is in a much larger story about other Xbox goings on, about the year that Xbox is about to have on that release slate that I just mentioned and stuff. But at the end of the story, I've recently been told that Xbox's next-gen console hardware has now moved past its early pitch stages and has been fully approved and costed all the way up the chain. So, fairly major milestone reached for the design of the next Xbox. What does that say about when that thing's coming out?
Well,
you tell me, what do we know about timelines for console production? Can they get from concept approval through final design and manufacturing and QA and everything they need to do by the end of next year? I don't know.
It's probably a little bit of a balancing act, right? To stay modern, right? To stay current, you got to like project out far enough with your hardware and then release early enough to make sure you're like, this is cutting edge at the time. Yeah. Otherwise, you release with like 25 gigs of storage and suddenly everybody's like, what the fuck? I can't even download Call of Duty out here.
Could we see a new Xbox at the end of next year? I don't know.
I hope not.
I don't know.
Well,
possible.
When I was reading this, Brad, and this is kind of silly, but I was mostly like, oh, I guess they're making another Xbox. I guess that's confirmed then, right?
I mean, I think they will eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure we were getting any, we still don't know what this is, but.
Yeah, plenty of stuff leaking out over the last few months about different phases of this production. I mean, could they kill it in any time? Sure.
Yeah.
But all indications have been that they will do this. The question mainly is when. I mean, if it doesn't come out until 2027, that's like roughly 3 years from now.
Yeah, I could see it at next year.
It could be a late next year thing, assuming they even stick to a holiday release, which is not a guarantee.
I mean, to be fair to everybody listening and to you, this is based off of a very small quote here.
This is
We really have no idea exactly where this thing is.
And
we have no idea what it is. It could just be a set-top box that streams Xbox games off of a cloud. It doesn't. Will you put a disc in this thing ever?
That I highly doubt. Well, it may ship with an add-on, but I would be shocked if either of the next consoles has an optical drive in it.
Yeah, not built in. No.
Yeah, but they have still been making those comments about like it's going to be the biggest technological leap ever in an Xbox type stuff.
That could just be streaming.
I'm
kind of with you. I think it'll probably. If I were a betting man, I'd say it plays games locally. But is it using AMD? Is it using NVIDIA? Does it have AI in it? It
absolutely will have AI stuff in it for sure, 100%.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean we're talking the upscaling type.
I know.
But are they doubling down with NVIDIA's like 5,000 hardware locking on stuff now seems weird because we're in such a. This isn't my space, so I'm just kind of spitballing here, playing a little jazz. But chip manufacturers for video seem like they're not quite sure where they want to be in terms of games, right? It's like, are they pushing pixels? Are they pushing generative AI stuff?
I mean, NVIDIA is extremely the latter at this point. I don't think NVIDIA cares that much about game hardware at this point, to be perfectly frank.
So yeah, I don't know. It's neither here nor there. What else are we going on with Phil?
Phil Spencer, in an interview with Xbox Era, said the word Everwild.
Which
just like, I feel like that came up at some point in the last few weeks. I mentioned something about, I feel like a lot of people straight up forget that Rare has a new game coming. And in fact, announced that game 6 years ago?
It's been a while.
5, 6, it's been a long time since they revealed Everwild. Anyway, he basically was just talking about games on their slate that he's excited about. And he mentioned stopping by Rare recently and liking where the game is at or something along those lines.
I think it was wasn't it a targeting 2024?
I think that was, well, I forget when they said that. Like, there have been rumors that it was rebooted at some point internally and started over, which would help explain the lengthy development time. But yes, I think at some point they had said 2024 maybe for that game. Obviously did not happen, but like he was just running down stuff he likes that they've got going on. I'll say, because I was recently out at Rare, it's nice to see the team with Everwild and the progress they're making. So like, I'm honestly mostly put this in here because I still like Rare, and I feel like people need a reminder that they actually have another game in the works.
Would if you were a betting man, would you say 2025 for Everwild?
Maybe.
Or would they have announced it by this point?
I mean, they could still.
That I don't necessarily think, but I don't think they will.
My feeling generally about same year releases is like you need to have that announced by E3 time. Like kind of the latest you're probably going to announce a release for that same year is around June.
Okay. It's a next Xbox launch game.
And you know what? At the same time, though, the times they are changing. Maybe that's not the case anymore. Maybe you can just announce a thing and then it's out a month later now. I mean, everything's topsy-turvy. Who gives a shit?
I'm kind of expecting another Sea of Thieves-ish kind of like improvisational play space kind of thing out of this, but I really don't know for sure.
I also have no idea what Everwild will be. I mean, especially if it's been from the ground up redone, you know?
Yeah.
And finally here, Brad, our last story.
Yeah, I just put this in here as a show of respect, honestly. Victor Antonov, the art director of Half-Life 2, has passed away at the age of 52, which is
too young.
Quite young. And I mean, did I know the name of Victor Antonov before this story? I think I'm sure I've seen his name in credits for Half-Life 2 and stuff like that, but it was not somebody I like thought about all the time. But still, when I saw this, I was just like, man, like think about how iconic the art design in Half-Life 2 is.
Yeah.
Like still to this day. And he went to Arcane later after Valve. He also worked on the Dishonored series. And if you look at some of the concept art that was coming out in the wake of his passing from those two games side by side, you're like, okay, yeah, I can definitely see commonality here between these. But like, just like, remember how like fresh Half-Life 2 looked when it came out?
Yes, I do.
In that era of first-person shooters, when like everything was some kind of like Doom clone or just like generic sci-fi or fantasy shit, like that dystopian future Eastern European kind of setting.
Oh yeah.
And the look of the Combine and all that stuff. Like, that's just like, I'm not even the biggest Half-Life 2 fan on the planet, but still, like, you have to give it up for the way that game looked and what it did.
No, like, I'm not a Half-Life guy at all, but that game absolutely still looms large in my mind, largely just because of how it looked at the time, both at the time and just like how well that art style in general has kind of held up in the ensuing years.
Yeah. Strong visual identity.
Half-Life 2 is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. I just like, I do too. I don't necessarily worship it the same way that some people do.
I just wasn't playing PC games that much at the time when that thing came out. And so it just, to me, it felt a little bit alien from what I normally played. And so I just don't have the same attachment to it. But I mean, it's a landmark game for a reason.
I mean, I was pretty blown away by it. Don't get me wrong. But like, if you ask me which Half-Life game made a bigger impact on me, it was the first one at the time.
Okay. You sound like you hate physics.
Yeah, but look, I got them.
No more physics.
They're all special for their own reasons.
Now you want to talk about that Half-Life 2 tech demo, like museum, physics and materials museum that Valve made to promote that game, to show it off. Now we're talking.
That's going to do it for the news.
Yep.
I'm sure there's plenty of other news out there, but that's going to do it for what we got here, which is going to move us into emails.
Yes, running long here, so I might just do one quick one.
Hit me with an email, the email address being podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com, PODCAST at nextlander.com, in case anybody out there didn't know how to spell podcast.
Good to follow up from last week. From Joel in Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
I dug up all the dirt in a game about digging a hole.
Okay.
I was listening to your podcast last week when you mentioned you were playing a game about digging a hole and then it's only $5. I paused the podcast and purchased the game. I decided from the start that I was going to dig it all.
Oh, no.
It took me 6 hours. Please enjoy this photo. And he has enclosed a top-down photo of the entire shaft of that game. From the yard all the way down to the bottom.
It is still a great concept in video games.
Yeah.
Digging, moving dirt.
It's it's not as big a space as I would have expected when you look at it like this.
Still pretty big.
I mean,
it's claustrophobic down there.
It looks like it's just the 2 mine shafts that you find. Not to spoil the game.
But what a shaft it is.
It's a beautiful shaft.
Mm-hmm.
After I finished the game, I unpaused the episode to hear your thoughts. I like that you took a 6-hour break in the middle of the podcast and just played everything there was to play in this game. I share all the same thoughts with one caveat, that digging out all the dirt was not worth it.
Okay.
Fair. Thank you for doing it. Yeah.
I think I had all the upgrades before I got to the first mine shaft.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that makes sense. But God, think how long that would take, though, because all the ore you find at the top is very cheap.
I would have thought the majority of the digging happened after all the upgrades.
Yeah, I think that's what I would have gotten all the upgrades and then back unfilled the dirt.
Yeah. A lot of lights. Spent a lot of money on lights in this photo.
Yep. I hope they do more of something like that. I liked that game, but I wish there was more to it.
Yes. I'm looking at that photo again. I feel like there's some specks of dirt there.
Oh yeah. You can definitely see. That's kind of the problem with that game, though, right? It's impossible to get rid of all of them.
It's a really mean thing to do to someone who obsessively, compulsively tried to dig out every piece of dirt, Vinny.
The bigger issue is there's nothing left to stand on to get those little specks. You have to kind of jetpack and fly now to get these little specks of dirt.
So that does make it actually a lot more infuriating. You bringing really that up, terrible. The fact that you actually cannot do this because they will just be there forever taunting you.
Look, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt here, and say maybe those are impossible to get and they're bugged. Okay. Maybe they just would not. Maybe they just would not go.
But either way, if they ever fix that bug, you are now dooming this person to a life where they have to go back and do this all over again.
No. You have won. You have dug up all the dirt except for those little pieces you didn't dig. But it's fine.
Again, it's just like taking the knife and just twisting it a little bit, just a little bit.
I played the game. Some pieces are really hard to get. Mm-hmm. they're tough to get. And maybe you couldn't get them. Brad, just the one email?
Yep. Yeah, let's call it there.
Okay. That's going to do it for this week's show. A lot of games, a lot of news, a lot of things going on over on Nextlander. We got the Watchcast going on. We are finishing up our cons. The con is on.
Movies that are about cons.
Movies about cons. We are going to finish up with Parasite. We just did this thing. Parasite will be next week. And then during that episode of Parasite, we will have our announcements for what happens next with the Watchcast. So you can stick around, stay tuned for further Watchcast, either movies, themes, what have you, happening there. It's been a fun month. These are good movies. They're challenging my list. They're reordering the list.
Top 10 has not been altered in such a way in a very long time.
Who knew we were going to watch good movies for this thing? And I wasn't prepared.
I can fix that if you're having a problem with it. I can go back to some garbage if you want some garbage.
No, it's okay. I've already got a pretty bottom heavy list here. We could use some work at the top. It's quite.
I promise you, I have so much more garbage I could show you.
We got so that's going on over in Watchcast land, and then just an announcement here. I talked with Mahardy. Sounds like we're going to try and get that Warhammer feature spinning up and posted at the beginning of March. So we'll have a couple of episodes recorded. We've recorded already 2 good campaign and 1 evil campaign. We'll get 1 more evil campaign in the tank. If you don't know what's going on there, that is Mike Mahardy over at Firescape is going to be hosting behind their Patreon paywall there, the good campaign for Total Warhammer 3. And then over on the Nextlander side, we'll have on our Patreon side, Total Warhammer 3, the evil side, or chaos. Evil is such a, I don't want to paint with too strict a brush here, broad brush. It's, nefarious. So that's Mike and Vinny save the world and Mike and Vinny destroy the world. That'll be happening here.
You're saying we got to hear both sides? Is that it?
Let's hear both sides, really. These demons just want to eat your face. Okay?
All right.
Okay, and what do you want to do? Save the entire world. Okay. I think there's an equivalency here.
I think I'm okay with having my face eaten. I think it's fine.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Look, Brad, what do they got to do to save the world?
Well,
and what do we need? Freedom and chaos. in chains in freedom. I don't know. I couldn't make that turn. I'm sorry. It went off the track.
You gave it a good shot.
I was like a slot car where somebody's just holding on the thing too far, just spun right off the track. Anyway, that whole thing, working on that. That'll be over on the Patreon side of things. Alex, like we mentioned before, we are embarking on our
Lost Records.
Lost Records. I almost said Lost Tapes. Lost Records, Bloom and Bust. Rage and Bloom and Rage.
Bloom and Onion?
Bloom and Onion.
And then we will have, Brad, I'm sure we will have more Void Crew in the future.
Oh, I hope so.
But this Friday, boy howdy, Austin Walker is going to come by. He's got a release of a game, and it's a tabletop RPG, and he's going to GM it for us, and that's for Realis. Austin Walker, always a treat, always a blessing to have Austin Walker come and give his time to GM something for us. So we're going to do a run of that on Friday, and if you want to support more fantastic things like that, you can not only go support Austin, you support us over at patreon.com/Nextlander, where you can find a tier that fits your lifestyle. Plenty of tiers there. You can go catch all the Watchcast stuff there. You can catch the Video Ramble cast there. You can get the podcast up early there on the Patreon. Planorama, Q&A. They'll have the Vinny and Mike Destroy the World Warhammer stuff going up there. Plenty of stuff there, but there is one tier there that gets their names read on this here show. Alex Navarro, can you read our mysterious benefactors for this week for us?
I can't read, but I can read these mysterious benefactors, and they are Sean Miller, RRE, Alpha Rhythm, Infelicitous Rips, David L., Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, NXL Triumph 4850 Fund, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre, Queen of Disappointing Salads, Gary Peschke, Robert Fisher, Bunny Felonies, Jad Rita, Statics, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Randy Alderson, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, Dr. Nguyen Van Fuok, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks to our mysterious benefactors, and thanks to everybody for going over to patreon.com/Nextlander, participating, supporting, keeping things going. I'm very excited about this Friday. I've read about half of the fairly long Realis doc at this point. That is a really interesting system that I cannot wait for Austin to shepherd us through. If anybody, or if you don't know what is the deal, with Realis? It's a language-based, sentence-based role-playing game where
that's right. I'm going to play a +2 sentence against you.
Yes,
yeah.
The sentences are the thing, and it is a big collaborative storytelling where I always challenge your sentences, Brad, and can you challenge my sentence with I always beat your sentence. It'll be really interesting. Can't wait to dive in there and play that thing with Austin, because I feel like if I had to GM that thing from reading it, boy, I would probably be.
I don't think I'm there yet.
I'm not there yet. It seems cool. So that's
like
happening
really,
on Friday.
Yeah, really neat setting. There's like kind of an element of like magical realism to it. You know, you're just kind of like speaking your traits and abilities into existence kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the settings vibe are so Austin. Like, yeah, it's like
100%.
Reading that thing is like, oh my gosh, it's just spilling out onto the page here. So yeah, that's going to be very exciting. So check that out. And I can't wait to get back to that other stuff. Like we mentioned, Void Crew and Lost Records. Those things also having a lot of fun with those. And Avowed. What a time.
Yeah,
what a time.
Games, video games. And Monster Hunter's out next week too.
Oh my gosh.
And then Assassin's Creed is like a week after that, or a week and a half.
Jeez. And that Pirate Yakuza game, I think, is out next week.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm sorry. Assassins is late March, so that's a little ways off.
Okay.
Can't blame you. Things
just enough time for me to play with Majima.
That's a slippery release date. I don't think that thing can move anymore. We're closing. It's cornered now. assassins really can't escape at this point unless
you
it
have
somehow
hit the bedrock of financial quarters. You cannot go any further.
It just disappears at some point. All right, that's going to do it, folks. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.